Chapter 30:14. As soon as the teleportation rune appeared under his feet, Knight's Sorrow felt a huge suction force. Then, light flickered under his feet. When he opened his eyes again, he had already appeared in a grand square. This square was even wider than the one outside. Standing on the square, one could feel the thick divine chi. When Knight's Sorrow appeared, he immediately saw the people from the other 7 territories. At this moment, after a series of battles, other than Mingyan and Jiuxian territories, there were less than 10 people left in the other territories. Among them, the realm of gods and Tianxiao territories were the most miserable, with only 1 person left. As for Mingyan and Jiuxian territories, they each had about 50 cultivators left. Not only were their individual combat strength strong, but their overall strength was also overwhelming. The people from these 2 territories were now looking unruly as they locked their eyes on the last person left in Tianxiao territory, Mu Tianai. After staring at Mu Tianai for a while, Ming Ke, the strongest person in Mingyan territory, smiled and said, "Mu Tianai, I didn't expect this. As the champion of the previous competition, your Sky Owl territory will be so miserable in this battle for Providence. You're the only one left. If you encounter the Celestial Extinction territory, you won't be here anymore." Mu Tianya's expression was indifferent as he looked at Ming Ke with a trace of disdain. Ming Ke was ridiculed by this sentence and did not speak for a long time. At this time, Xian Xingyu, the strongest person in Jiuxian territory, smiled and said, "Ming Ke, he's alone. What are you afraid of? When the battle starts, we'll join forces to destroy him first. All right, kick him out, and our territories will fight for the final championship to prevent him from taking advantage of the loopholes." Ming Ke smiled and nodded at Xian Xingyu of Jiuxian territory. Hearing this, Mu Tianai smiled and said, "When the top 8 competition starts, you can try. Let me see if you're as powerful as Ji Xian of Celestial Extinction territory." The overall strength of the people from the 4 territories is indeed much stronger than the other territories. At this time, Knight's Sorrow used the Sea Serpent's Eye to observe and saw the strength of Mingyan and Jiuxian territories. Among them, not only Ming Ke and Xian Xingyu were strong, there were also 2 or 3 people who were close to the level of the Saintess. If they encountered the Moon Shadow Estate, they would definitely be eliminated easily. Unlike in the Divine World, the battles there were not as tough as in the Divine World. As for the other territories, the Blood Fury territory, the Holy Spirit territory, the Annihilation territory, and the Burning Sky territory, their top fighting strength was about the same as the Moon Shadow Estate. However, after the continuous battles, the number of people left was much smaller. If nothing went wrong, the 4 territories were no match for Mingyan's territory or Jiuxian's territory. After observing them, Knight's Sorrow locked his gaze onto Mu Tianai of the Heavenly Owl territory. This Mu Tianai was dressed in white and held a folding fan in his hand. He looked elegant, but he gave off an oppressive aura. Knight's Sorrow glanced at him with the Sea Serpent's Eye, but he couldn't see through him. It was obvious that the other party had a concealment treasure. You are interesting, much better than Ming Ke and Xian Xingyu. The territory of the God Realm has produced a character." Mu Tianai, who was being scrutinized by Knight's Sorrow, turned to look at Knight's Sorrow and said with a smile, "Scum of the God Realm, you are the same as Mu Tianai. You will be killed immediately after the quarterfinals. If I were you, I would give up the last round." Hearing Mu Tianya's words, Xian Xingyu of the Jiuxian estate immediately looked at Knight's Sorrow. At this moment, Knight's Sorrow had only recovered 70% of his strength, and his aura wasn't very strong. Xian Xingyu glanced at him and said with disdain, "You are interesting too." At this moment, Knight's Sorrow ignored Xian Xingyu and said to Mu Tianai, "You and I are alone. Why don't we team up? We can eliminate the other 6 territories, and then the 2 of us can have showdown." Mu Tianai didn't look at Xian Xingyu and said to Knight's Sorrow. Hearing this, the people of the Mingyan estate and Jiuxian estate shouted in disdain. As for the people of the other 4 territories, they were a little nervous. Mu Tianai was known as the strongest person in this year's Battle of Providence. His strength was unfathomable to the rulers. If they teamed up with Night Sorrow, they could be a threat to them. I will not team up with the enemy. Night Sorrow didn't even consider Mu Tianya's suggestion and said coldly, I'm not lying to you. Back then, the Tian Shao estate didn't attack the Supreme Longevity estate. We are not your enemy. After Night Sorrow said that, Mu Tianai didn't get angry. Instead, he explained in front of everyone. Don't refute the things that everyone knows. Night Sorrow said coldly after Mu Tianai said that. Back then, in the scene that the Horn Race Paragon had shown him, the top 20 territories had all made a move. He would never forget this matter. It's fine if you don't believe me. Good luck. Mu Tianai said and didn't say anything else. At this time, Xianxinyu looked at the people of the other 4 territories and said, I have a suggestion. Let's enter the final round and team up to eliminate Mu Tianai and Night Sorrow. Then we will fight. What do you think? I think this is a good suggestion. Ming Ke from the Ming Yin estate nodded in agreement when he heard this. He felt that if they could kick Mu Tianai out like what Xianxinyu said, the final champion would definitely be from the Ming Yin estate or the Jiuxian estate. As for the Ming Yin estate, they would at least get second place. This was a safer choice. All right, the Xiu Ru estate agrees. The people of the Xiu Ru estate immediately agreed when the people of the 2 territories spoke at the same time. The other 3 territories thought about it and agreed as well. To them, although Mu Tianai was scary, the Ming Yin estate and the Jiuxian estate were even scarier. After they made their choice, Mu Tianai looked at Night Sorrow again and said with a smile, They're forcing us onto the same path. Night Sorrow, why don't you just agree with him? After all, Mu Tianai is recognized as the strongest person in this year's Battle of Providence. Night Sorrow did not speak. At this time, the Wanjian sect in the Space Grotto advised. He felt that joining forces with Mu Tianai was the best choice. Then, Yuan Fengxue and Murongaren also advised Night Sorrow to put aside his hatred for the time being. After they finished speaking, Night Sorrow replied through telepathy, I can't see through Mu Tianya's strength at all, but he is definitely much stronger than Ming Ke and Xianxinyu. Working with him is like asking a tiger for its skin. It's very likely that we will become his cannon fodder. Anyway, we have enemies all over the world. We are not afraid of offending him. That's true. It's better to trust yourself than to trust others. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Xiao Tianxian immediately agreed. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Chinese mobile version reading website. M. Chapter 30:15. That's right. Night Sorrow replied to everyone. Then he said to Mu Tianai, You're too humble. With your strength, you don't need to team up with anyone. You're interesting. I hope you can last until the end. Mu Tianai said with a smile. Then he put away his fan and stopped talking. Meanwhile, the people from Ming Yin territory and Jiuxian territory had already started communicating with the people from the other territories. Obviously, they were discussing the details of their cooperation. Damn it, there are a total of 8 territories, and 6 of them are working together. There's also a group with the strongest strength. What's Brother Yi going to do when that happens? Isn't this just making things difficult for him? The master of the Myriad Swords sect grumbled in annoyance as the 6 great territories discussed their countermeasures. Looking at the current situation, what awaited Night Sorrow was definitely the most difficult path. Their cooperation won't last long. I just need to protect myself. Night Sorrow was much calmer. The situation in front of him was very difficult for him. However, compared to what he might encounter when he left the small world, it paled in comparison to the big one. He knew that since he had brought the realm of the gods to its current height, there was a 100% chance that someone was targeting him. As for who would attack him, that was not certain. All right, we'll deal with it as it comes. Let's take one step at a time. If there's no other way, we'll crush the identity plate. Xiao Tianxian also nodded. Like the others, he had sacrificed 30,000 years of his strength. He was somewhat disappointed. However, when he thought of the results this time, he suddenly felt that it was worth it to exchange 30,000 years of his strength for 10 million years of the realm of the gods. Knight's Sorrow. We've discussed this and are prepared to give you a chance. After the final battle, you will team up with us and kill Mu Ti and I. After that, we'll start the final battle. How about it? I saw that you rejected Mu Ti and I just now because you want to join us, right? Suddenly, Xian Xingyu from Jiuxian territory looked at Knight's Sorrow and said, You wanted to join? Xian Xingyu's words surprised Knight's Sorrow. At the same time, he realized that Mu Ti and I was not simple. Mu Ti and I must be extremely difficult to deal with. Otherwise, Xian Xingyu would not have said that. Yes, if you join us, at the very least, you'll be able to get 7th place. This is the best choice for you. They wanted to isolate Mu Ti and I completely. Forget it. Not interested. After Ming Ke finished speaking, Yishang didn't even think about it and directly rejected him. Bastard. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Upon hearing this, Ming Ke and Xian Xingyu were furious. In their eyes, they had already given Knight's Sorrow a lot of face by taking the initiative to persuade him to surrender. At this time, Knight's Sorrow sneered, "Cooperating with you is tantamount to asking a tiger for its skin. I might as well drink a forfeit." He had character. It seems like I should pay more attention to you. Seeing that Knight's Sorrow had rejected Ming Ke and Xian Xingyu, Mu Ti and I, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly smiled. Mu Ti and I, Knight's Sorrow, both of you must die. Xian Xingyu shouted angrily when he saw that Mu Ti and I and Knight's Sorrow were both calm and emotionless. Then let's see who's better. At this time, Mu Ti and I, who was smiling, suddenly released his divine territory and looked at Xian Xingyu fiercely. For a moment, his aura was like a great river. Xian Xingyu was suppressed by Mu Tianya's aura and could not speak for a long time. Useless. You're much weaker than Knight's Sorrow. Mu Ti and I said disdainfully. Then he walked to a secluded place and sat down to meditate. After that, Knight's Sorrow did not speak anymore. He sat on the ground and patiently cultivated to recover his strength. About half a month later, Knight's Sorrow had successfully recovered 80% of his strength. In the next few days, Knight's Sorrow was still cultivating. However, above the square, a huge divine tower suddenly descended from the sky. Eternal divine tower. Seeing the tower, Knight's Sorrow murmured in confusion. This divine tower looked exactly the same as the illusory image of the eternal divine tower. After observing it with the sea serpent's eye, Knight's Sorrow realized that it was not an illusory image. The real eternal divine tower? The final battle of this battle for providence. Will it be held in the eternal divine tower? This is one of the few earthly sovereign artifacts in the eternal supreme world. Xian Xingyu from Jiuxian's territory also exclaimed when he saw this scene. Yes, and this is an ownerless object. If you can make it recognize you as its master, it will be a supreme achievement. Ming Ke from Mingyan's territory said greedily. Many others felt the same way. After all, an earthly sovereign artifact to the eternal supreme world was like the sovereign artifact of the deity realm. It was an earthly sovereign artifact. Seeing its appearance, even Mu Ti and I, who had been calm all this time, changed his expression. He whispered in confusion. I heard that those who see the eternal divine tower can make it recognize you as its master. But in front of so many people, how can it be counted? In this year's battle for providence, the host, Supreme Yuling, knowingly broke the law and has been executed by the rules. In order to prevent others from interfering and affecting the fairness of the battle, Supreme Yuling has been punished. The final battle will be held in the eternal divine tower. Just as everyone was confused, the door of the eternal divine tower suddenly opened. A supreme being puppet walked out from within. The puppet walked out of the door and said in a cold voice. So Supreme Yuling interfered with the battle and was executed. What a surprise. Hearing this, the Myriad Sword sect immediately laughed. The others from the deity realm also felt relieved. After all, Supreme Yuling had been targeting the deity realm since the start of the battle. Night Sorrow, you're in the same group as the Moon Shadow territory. Supreme Yuling's execution should be related to you, right? Hearing the puppet's words, Muti and I immediately looked at Night Sorrow and asked, "Maybe." Night Sorrow replied non-committally. Hearing this, Muti and I and the others were sure that Supreme Yuling had died because of Night Sorrow. Muti and I smiled and said, "It seems that being able to see the legendary Eternal Divine Tower is a blessing to you. If we meet again, I will spare you this time." "Thank you very much," Yishan replied casually. He didn't care about this matter at all. At this time, Ming-Ke was sending a voice transmission to the people of the 6 territories, full of murderous intent. The Eternal Divine Tower appeared because of Night Sorrow. In terms of fate, there is something to pay attention to. After we enter, it's best to kill him as soon as possible. Even if you don't say it, we won't let him live," Xian Qingyu said coldly. At this time, the puppet spoke again. "Enter Master's Eternal Divine Tower and start the battle." Genius memorized this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3016. What? The Eternal Tower has an owner? Upon hearing this, Ming-Ke and Xian Qingyu, who were originally very interested in the Eternal Tower, were shocked. The puppet did not respond to this at all. Instead, it continued, "All of you, enter through the door in front of you. Then, choose the passage to enter." Okay, everyone present responded and entered the Eternal Divine Tower through the door in front of them. After entering the Eternal Tower, 8 doors appeared in front of them. Obviously, these were 8 passages. On each of the 8 doors, there was a word. Life, death, existence, fate, success, failure is heaven. After everyone had entered, the puppet continued, 8 passages, make your choice. Those who do not enter within 10 breaths will be eliminated. Which door should we choose? Looking at the 8 words in front of them, many people hesitated. The 6 territories, who were originally prepared to cooperate, were also surprised. They felt that there must be a reason for the 8 territories to have 8 doors. Now that they had joined forces, it was reasonable to say that they should be together. However, with so many people squeezing into one door, who knew what would happen? Let's choose a door for each territory. When we enter later, if we encounter each other, don't attack. Use all your strength to kill Night Sorrow and Muti and I. Xian Qingyu of the 9 Xian territory said, and led the people of the 9 Xian territory into the life door. At this time, Feng Wuji, who was watching from the outside, said coldly, "Cowardly and useless. The 9 Xian territory's potential has been destroyed. Wuji, earthly sovereign, you are too modest. The 9 Xian territory is the most promising contender for the championship. At the very least, they can get into the top 3. They can escape the fate of being in 4th place every time." After Feng Wuji finished speaking, Yu, earthly sovereign, comforted him. "Our attention can't be limited to just one battle of providence. If the 9 Xian territory does not produce talents, I'm afraid it will soon decline," Feng Wuji said coldly. He was obviously very disappointed in Xian Qingyu. At this time, the other 6 territories also chose their doors. There were still 2 doors left for Night Sorrow and Muti and I. One was defeat, the other was death. Staring at the 2 doors, Muti and I laughed and said, "Ha ha, one is defeat, one is death. Night Sorrow, which one do you choose?" "You choose first. Just leave one for me. It's just one word, it can't stop me," Night Sorrow said casually. "How bold. You are much stronger than Ming-Ke and Xian Qingyu. I hope you can recover soon so that we can have a showdown." With that, Muti and I waved his fan and walked into the death gate. He had chosen the 4 gates because he felt that he could fight his way out of a hopeless situation. Defeat. The last remaining Night Sorrow glanced at the word defeat on the door and slowly walked in. After passing through the defeat door, Night Sorrow immediately entered a desolate world. This world was filled with yellow soil and fine sand. It looked very dilapidated. Night Sorrow scanned the area with the sea serpent's eye and found no life at all. He said softly, "Is this the meaning of defeat? Dilapidated? I'm not sure what to do from now on." That puppet let us in, but didn't tell us the rules. At this time, Master Wan Jin said unhappily. He had inexplicably entered a dilapidated world. His eyes were covered in darkness, and he didn't know what to do. This feeling wasn't too good. If we don't know what to do, the others probably don't know either. The rules are fair, Night Sorrow said, sat on the ground, and began to cultivate. He wanted to recover his strength first. After cultivating for about 3 months, his strength had completely recovered. After that, Night Sorrow began to lead the people of the Heavenly Realm territory to investigate the world in front of them. After flying for 30 million miles, they felt that they were about to fly to the edge of the sky, but it was still a dilapidated scene. They found nothing. This surprised everyone in the Heavenly Realm territory. They did not expect that by choosing this defeat door, they had completely chosen to be alone. Not only were there no enemies, but there were also no signs of life. Night Sorrow, why don't you let us out? Let everyone feel the aura of this world. Maybe we can find something. After flying aimlessly for a long time, Wu Lingfei suddenly said. Although they could no longer use divine origin force and divine soul power, they could be said to be quite weak. However, there were no living creatures in this world, so they did not need to be afraid. All right, everyone, let's come out and relax, Night Sorrow said and summoned everyone. After being summoned to this world, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast immediately said, "It's really a dilapidated world. There's a strange feeling." "What feeling?" Night Sorrow immediately asked. "It's on the tip of my tongue, but it's hard to say." The chaotic heavenly crystal beast thought for a moment, but did not say it. At this time, Wu Lingfei suddenly said, "I'm thinking, is this a formation? If it's a formation, then we need to break the formation. Break the formation, and we can go out. This should be the meaning of this place's existence, right?" "Yeah, that makes sense." Hearing Wu Lingfei's words, Yuan Fengxue immediately agreed with a smile. Everyone discussed for a while and felt that what Wu Lingfei said made sense. It was very likely that they needed to crack it within the stipulated time to enter the final battle venue. Then what are we hesitating for? Let's split up and search for clues, Myriad Sword Sect said. Seeing that Night Sorrow was about to refute, he immediately said, "Although we can't use our cultivation, our bodies are still there. If we don't encounter any ferocious beasts, there shouldn't be any danger." That works too. Everyone has a voice transmission stone on them. If there's any situation, immediately send me a voice transmission. However, before everyone splits up, let's have a cup of tea in peace, Night Sorrow said and took out a tea set from his spatial Dharma artifact. He poured a cup of hot tea for everyone. After everyone finished drinking, he let everyone leave at ease. This cup of tea was called Heart Intoxication, and it had a very special aura. Those who finished drinking could use the Horn Race's secret technique to track them. This was his double insurance. After everyone left, Night Sorrow suddenly flew to the clouds and used the sea serpent's eye to look down at the dilapidated world below. Standing in a high place, it indeed looks a little different, but I can't see any clues at all. Night Sorrow, who was floating in the clouds, looked for a while and did not find anything, so he stopped using the sea serpent's eye. He looked at it with ordinary eyes. Looking at it from the perspective of an ordinary person, Night Sorrow immediately saw more different scenes. This was something that cultivators could not see at all. For a moment, it had a huge impact on Night Sorrow's state of mind. If I cultivate in this state of mind, I should be able to completely advance to the peak of the sovereign realm very quickly. Night Sorrow, who was in a strange state of mind, immediately sat on the clouds and cultivated. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Clan mobile version reading website. Chapter 3017. After cultivating for an entire year, Night Sorrow was already very close to becoming a half-step supreme. However, he encountered a cultivation barrier and was temporarily unable to advance further from a higher juggernaut. Thus, he walked out of his cultivation state. Unable to advance further in terms of cultivation, Night Sorrow immediately came out of his cultivation state. He continued to study the array formation of the small world in front of him. At first, Night Sorrow immediately saw the scattered divine world cultivators and the chaos heavenly crystal beast below with the sea serpent eye. The chaos heavenly crystal beast still looked indomitable, while the divine world cultivators looked like ants. If he hadn't activated the sea serpent eye, he wouldn't have been able to see them clearly. However, after seeing everyone's position and direction, Night Sorrow's mind stirred. The path they took gave him a lot of inspiration. It felt as if a trace of vitality had been produced in the dilapidated world. That kind of concept was very wonderful. It was as if it was recovering from the ruins and rising from the dead silence. For a time, Night Sorrow's understanding of life improved further. Although he didn't find a way to break the array formation in front of him, he obviously had an epiphany in terms of cultivation. I should be able to reach peak Juggernaut this time. After confirming that the divine world cultivators were all safe, Night Sorrow sat on the clouds and started cultivating again. This time, his state of mind was clear, and his cultivation was extremely carefree. It took him around 3 months to reach the peak of the Tao Ruler Realm, which was the half-supreme Highness Realm. Phew! After passing the lightning tribulation, Night Sorrow immediately exhaled. That carefree feeling was almost the same as when he became a Juggernaut. Although Half-Step Supreme was only a small realm higher than a higher Juggernaut, it was a great improvement in strength. It's time to find a way to break the array. The competition in front of him had no rules. Night Sorrow felt that he had to cherish time as much as possible. Thus, he once again studied the way to break the array formation in this dilapidated world. In terms of concept, he had already comprehended it from the path others walked, but he still needed to study how to break it. However, just as Night Sorrow began to calculate, Wu Lingfei suddenly sent a voice transmission. Night Sorrow, I've already figured out what's going on with this world. Oh, what was going on in this world? Have you found a way to break the formation? Yishang immediately asked in confusion. He was pleasantly surprised. It's not a formation, it's the harmony of the mind. Wu Lingfei said briefly before continuing to explain. This broken world, what we need is nirvana. A broken world needs nirvana? Night Sorrow was puzzled. Yes. Let this dilapidated world be filled with vitality once more. Once I successfully undergo nirvana, I should be able to walk out of here. Wu Lingfei's voice sounded again. I've undergone nirvana several times in a row, so I understand this state of mind. Furthermore, he had successfully verified his thoughts. Take a look at me. All right. Yishang nodded and looked in Wu Lingfei's direction. Everyone else was still in the desert, but Wu Lingfei's location was already overflowing with greenery. The green vegetation and vines were like bamboo shoots after the rain, constantly growing. Not long after, even towering ancient trees grew out. That's true. Rebirth from the ashes, that's right. That's how it should be. In an instant, Night Sorrow's state of mind was also in sync with nirvana. Below Night Sorrow, countless green sprouts fought to be the first to emerge from the ground. I did it. I did it too. After all, Night Sorrow was also someone who had been reborn, so he quickly did this and then sent a voice transmission to Wu Lingfei. At this time, Wu Lingfei continued, then send a voice transmission to the others. I feel that as long as we fill the entire world with vitality, the way out will appear on its own. I think so too. I'll do it now. Lingfei, this time, you've really done a meritorious service. In the past, every time there was a problem, the person who came forward to solve it was Night Sorrow. This time, it was Wu Lingfei who helped him share the burden. This feeling was very good. After that, Night Sorrow sent a voice transmission to the Myriad Sword sect, Xiao Tianxian, and the others. In the next few days, the broken world below was completely covered in green vegetation. You guys are very good. You can comprehend the true meaning of nirvana. Just as Yishang and the others had turned the entire dilapidated world green. Above the void, a figure immediately appeared. This figure was very tall and looked about the same as the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. Although there wasn't any aura flowing around his body, he naturally gave off an extremely powerful feeling. Night Sorrow, Wu Lingfei, and the others could not sense the cultivation of this figure at all, but in front of him, they felt very small and powerless to resist. "Senior, who are you?" When this figure appeared, everyone in the God Realm territory was already together. After he spoke, Yishang immediately gathered everyone around him and asked, "What is it?" I am the first master of this eternal divine tower." "Yan Hengshi," the figure said and smiled. "You don't have to be wary of me. I'm here to explain the rules." "Explain the rules?" Myriad Sword Sect looked at the void and asked with a frown. "Yes, explain the rules. I'll tell you how to leave this small world." Yan Hengshi's virtual shadow said, and then continued. "This small world was originally a dilapidated world. Because your minds were compatible, you were reborn from nirvana. The reward you received was the way out. However, if you want to leave, you still need to pass another stage." "Senior, what is the other stage?" Night Sorrow immediately asked. "You will see it soon. As long as you defeat it, you can successfully leave this place and advance to the next stage." Yan Hengshi's figure said and pointed into the distance. Everyone in the God Realm territory looked around and immediately saw a towering green plant. The size of this tall green plant could be described as covering the sky and covering the earth. It was dozens of times larger than the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. It covered an area of more than 10 million miles. Just its tentacles alone could number billions. Half-step earthly sovereign realm. Using the sea serpent's eye to observe, Night Sorrow determined the strength of this green plant. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Yan Hengshi's figure immediately agreed. "That's right. It's called the Heaven Shrouding Radish. It's the half-step earthly sovereign realm. It's this small world's final test for you. If you're killed by it, you won't really die, but you will be eliminated. If you want to win the final championship of the Battle of Providence, defeat it. Senior, we will work hard. Thank you for the reminder." After Night Sorrow said that, he took everyone back into the space. With the golden heavenly halberd in hand, he directly attacked the Heaven Shrouding Radish. Clan M. Chapter 3018. Wait a minute. Night Sorrow had just made his move when Wan Jianzong suddenly shouted from within the space grotto heaven. "Brother Wan, what's the situation?" Night Sorrow, who had stopped his move, asked doubtfully. His move was suddenly interrupted, and he suffered a bit of backlash, and some blood flowed out of the corner of his mouth. However, it was not a big deal. Ask what the other territories are like, so that you have an idea. Wan Jianzong sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow again, asking him to ask Yan Hengshi about the situation of the other 7 territories. That makes sense. Let's ask clearly before we make a move. Wu Lingfei's voice also came out slowly. "All right, in that case, I'll ask." In fact, Night Sorrow felt that the others were not too important, but since everyone said so, there was no harm in asking. After replying, Night Sorrow looked at Yan Hengshi, who was still in the void, and asked, "Senior, how are the other 7 territories? Has anyone broken through the checkpoint?" The other 7 territories have not successfully broken through the checkpoint yet. However, there are those who started fighting the final guardian before you. Yan Hengshi's shadow said, and then said with a smile, "In those territories where war broke out, several people fought together. This is the first time that a person like you has faced the guardian alone. As for the rest, I can't reveal too much to you." "Thank you for telling me, Senior." Night Sorrow replied respectfully and sent a voice transmission. "It seems that Tianxiao territory's Mu Tianai hasn't started the final battle yet. In that case, our progress isn't considered slow. Yes, let's see if you can quickly defeat the Heaven Shrouding Radish in front of you." Xiao Tianxian said and continued, "I really feel bad for putting all the pressure on you. Brother Xiao, don't say that. You have already done enough. Isn't the small world in front of us broken by concubine Ling Fei, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Then, holding the golden heavenly halberd, he flew in the direction of the heaven-shrouding radish again. Although the heaven-shrouding radish in front of him was already a huge monster, it was still growing. While he was talking to Yin Hengshi, the heaven-covering radish had grown by almost a tenth. At this moment, Yin Hengshi reminded, the heaven-shrouding radish only doesn't grow during battle. If you leave the battle and allow it to grow, it will eventually reach the level of an Earth Sovereign. Thank you for your reminder, Senior. Inferno, devil-subduing spear. In the face of the heaven-shrouding radish, Knight Sorrow's first reaction was to release flames that covered the sky, burning the heaven-shrouding radish's branches. Since Yin Hengshi had said so, he was prepared to fight and eliminate the sky-covering radish. You're seeking death. At this moment, the heaven-shrouding radish suddenly said in disdain and waved its thousands of branches. It forcefully tore apart Knight Sorrow's flames. The next one to be torn apart is you. After tearing apart all of Knight Sorrow's flames, the sky-covering radish let out a cold roar and extended countless branches of varying thicknesses. It extended towards Knight Sorrow. It's hard to deal with. If I hadn't broken through a few days ago, I wouldn't have been its opponent. The heaven-shrouding radish's branches were like countless pythons, and each of them seemed to have their own consciousness. Soon, they extended towards Yi Shiwen from all directions. They wrapped Knight Sorrow in it. Brother Yi, why aren't you moving or fighting back? At this moment, Knight Sorrow didn't move or fight back, allowing the heaven-shrouding radish's branches to wrap around him. Wan Jianzong asked in confusion. Cast a long line to catch a big fish. I don't want to use a sledgehammer to kill a chicken. As Knight Sorrow replied, the heaven-shrouding radish's branches had already wrapped around him. At this moment, Knight Sorrow replied and then released the supreme reincarnation spear. Abruptly, he charged towards the countless branches. The supreme reincarnation spear exploded. Compared to the heaven-shrouding radish, Knight Sorrow, who was as small as an ant, immediately exploded with endless spear radiance. These spear radiances weren't as simple as just light rays. Instead, they were illusions of golden halberds. This was the ability that Knight Sorrow had obtained after advancing to half-step to Supreme Martial Artist. Boom, boom, boom. After being bombarded by the spear radiance, the heaven-shrouding radish's branches were basically all shattered. You deserve to die. After Knight Sorrow destroyed about 1/7 of its branches, the heaven-shrouding radish was immediately enraged. It let out a roar and attacked Knight Sorrow again. This time, he learned from his mistake and didn't just use the branches to attack. Instead, it released a large amount of pollen while attacking. The pollen released was some small pink particles that couldn't be seen clearly with the naked eye, and it had a fragrance that would make one overtake it. This pollen must be poisonous. Knight Sorrow, who was using the sea serpent's eye to observe the pollen, could tell that it must be very poisonous before coming into contact with it. If not, there was no need for the heaven-shrouding radish to release these things while attacking. Divine Origin Trapping Array. Facing the pollen and branches, Knight Sorrow immediately used the Divine Origin Trapping Array to seal the space around him so that no pollen could take advantage of it. Now that Knight Sorrow had advanced a half-step to Supreme Martial Artist, his strength had increased a lot. In terms of strength, he wasn't inferior to the heaven-shrouding radish, which was a half-step to Earthly Sovereign. Therefore, the Divine Origin Trapping Array that he had set up wasn't that easy to break. The heaven-shrouding radish continued to bombard him with its branches, but it didn't have much effect. Knight Sorrow, you can't hide in the trapping array like this, right? Xiao Tianxian asked doubtfully when he saw Knight Sorrow hiding in the trapping array to avoid the heaven-shrouding radish's poisonous powder attack. In an instant, the Divine Origin Trapping Array was completely surrounded by the branches. It felt like an ordinary person being entangled by a giant python, and the amount of pollen around him had increased significantly. Knight Sorrow's choice was like drinking poison to quench his thirst. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. At this moment, Night Sorrow still didn't make a move. Instead, he set up another virtuous trapping array. After the double trapping array was set up, Night Sorrow completely opened his deity realm and added the power of Myriad into it. Then, he used the Tristrimsa battle secret technique to raise his strength to the peak. Then, he said to everyone, "Next, I'll use my strongest attack. Success or failure will depend on this." Night Sorrow, go for it. Yuan Fengshue immediately shouted when he heard this. Although the people from the realm of gods didn't say much, they clearly expressed that they were prepared to share the honor and disgrace with him. That's enough. After the people from the realm of gods finished speaking, Night Sorrow let the phoenix battle armor around him burn. Then he suddenly used the fire beacon smoke diagram that he had obtained from Yu Yen. After the fire beacon smoke diagram was released, it immediately blocked all of the heaven-shrouding radish's senses. Those branches that were attacking wildly also lost their target in an instant and started to swing blindly. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3019. Even those that were originally entangled in the divine essence trapping formation quickly loosened and began to wave blindly. This fire beacon smoke diagram is indeed very magical. No wonder I couldn't see or sense anything at that time. After seeing the heaven-shrouding radish's performance, a smile immediately appeared on Night Sorrow's face. He waved the golden heavenly halberd and struck out with an even more powerful supreme reincarnation spear. Night Sorrow's target was not the dancing branches in the sky, but the roots of the heaven-shrouding radish. Through the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow had already discovered that the heaven-shrouding radish's soul was hidden in the roots underground. Boom! When Night Sorrow's supreme reincarnation spear struck the roots of the heaven-shrouding radish, the sound of metal colliding was immediately heard. The hardness of the roots of the heaven-shrouding radish was actually not inferior to the golden heavenly halberd. Night Sorrow's attack actually did not penetrate it. At this moment, the heaven-shrouding radish had also determined Night Sorrow's location through the pain in its body. It seems that although the fire beacon smoke diagram is a divine artifact, it's not omnipotent. After being discovered by the heaven-shrouding radish, Night Sorrow did not panic. He pondered for a moment and used the gentle dragon roar on the roots of the heaven-shrouding radish. As soon as the gentle dragon roar was released, the branches that had already attacked Night Sorrow began to dance aimlessly again. At this moment, Night Sorrow seized the opportunity to swallow a few recovery pills. He summoned the chaotic heavenly crystal beast and said, "Help me harass the heaven-shrouding radish." At this moment, its perception is completely blocked. Use your advantage of having more tentacles. Just harass it? The chaotic heavenly crystal beast asked doubtfully. Yes, all you need to do is to make it badly battered. I'll try my best to kill it. Night Sorrow said and used the reincarnation spear technique. It merged with the golden heavenly halberd and blasted towards the roots of the heaven-shrouding radish again. When Night Sorrow launched this attack, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast had already stretched out its tentacles and kept slapping the heaven-shrouding radish's body. The chaotic heavenly crystal beast's attack immediately attracted the heaven-shrouding radish's attention. However, after waving it around for a while, heaven-covering radish realized that something was wrong. The thing that was attacking definitely wasn't Night Sorrow. Well done, Chaos. Reincarnation spear technique. Break. Just as the heaven-shrouding radish's attention was completely attracted by the chaotic heavenly crystal beast, Night Sorrow roared and attacked the roots of the heaven-shrouding radish again. Boom! This time, the heaven-shrouding radish, whose attention had been drawn over, was bombarded by Night Sorrow's attack on its roots. His divine soul was immediately struck. By the time it realized something was wrong, it was already too late. Night Sorrow had already burrowed into the body through the hole he had made. Attack his divine soul. Roar. I'll kill you. The heaven-shrouding radish let out a beast-like roar as its soul was continuously attacked. Since you want to kill me, I naturally can't let you live. After the heaven-shrouding radish roared, Night Sorrow's attack immediately became even more ferocious, stirring nonstop in its roots. Not long after, the heaven-shrouding radish was completely injured. Even its branches retracted, no longer paying attention to the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. Many branches directly reached into the roots through the hole Night Sorrow had blasted open. Obviously, it wanted to pull out Night Sorrow. Although its perception was blocked by the fire and smoke diagram, the heaven-shrouding radish could still sense Night Sorrow's location through pain. After being killed by me here, it'll be difficult for you to find a chance to turn things around. Facing the branches that the heaven-shrouding radish extended in, Night Sorrow snorted coldly and used the Supreme Reincarnation Spear in the roots. The Supreme Reincarnation Spear was used inside the heaven-shrouding radish. This time, the heaven-shrouding radish's divine soul couldn't withstand it and was forcefully shattered. Not long after, the heaven-shrouding radish completely lost its life, and those crazily dancing branches also completely stopped. Phew, it's really not easy to deal with. Fortunately, I have the help of Hundun. Otherwise, I wouldn't have succeeded so easily. After Night Sorrow walked out of the heaven-shrouding radish, he immediately thanked the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. In the battle just now, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast was only helping Night Sorrow restrain the heaven-shrouding radish and was almost killed by the bombardment. The strength of the heaven-shrouding radish's branches could be imagined. It's really too strong. If you were a little slower, I would have been completely torn apart. Seeing that the heaven-shrouding radish was completely motionless and Night Sorrow had also appeared, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast immediately said with lingering fear. It only had the strength of an intermediate sovereign, while the heaven-shrouding radish was a half-step earthly sovereign. The gap between the two was still a little big. If it forcefully resisted, it wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Thank you for your hard work. If I get good things again, I'll prioritize you. Night Sorrow comforted. In fact, he didn't expect to be able to pass through the heaven-shrouding radish so easily. At this moment, he was in a good mood. Hearing this, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast immediately became excited and said, "Then let me absorb its laws and essence. If I absorb it, I will definitely be able to advance to the level of an upper sovereign. That's fine too, but I want to keep a part of it. My friends can use it in the future." Night Sorrow said as he cut off a part of the heaven-shrouding radish's roots and put it into the space tunnel. At this time, Wu Lingfei reminded, "Night Sorrow, ask Yin Hengshi if we passed." "Okay," Yishang responded and looked at Yin Hengshi who was in the air. However, at this time, he found that Yin Hengshi's figure began to slowly fade. "Senior, do we pass like this?" Night Sorrow immediately asked when he saw Yin Hengshi's figure becoming fainter and fainter. "Huh." At this time, a smile appeared on Yin Hengshi's face, but he didn't speak. He completely disappeared between heaven and earth. "What's going on?" The Myriad Sword sect in the space tunnel saw Yin Hengshi's figure disappear and immediately asked in confusion. "We should have passed, right?" Night Sorrow said doubtfully and once again broke down the essence of the heaven-shrouding radish with the chaotic heavenly crystal beast. It didn't take long for them to completely break down its rules and essence. At this time, Night Sorrow wanted to advance to the sovereign realm, so he had to absorb the rules and essence of the Earth sovereign level. Therefore, these were useless to him. However, he was prepared to leave these to Wu Lingfei and the others. After Night Sorrow and the chaotic heavenly crystal beast completely broke down the heaven-shrouding radish. In the void, a huge spinning vortex immediately appeared. After it appeared, everyone immediately determined. This was the passage to leave the small world. "Let's go. We should have passed. I wonder how the other territories are doing," Night Sorrow said and flew up into the clouds against the wind. Then, he used the sea serpent's eye to observe the vortex. After confirming that there was no danger, he led the people of the heavenly realm and flew in. After the surrounding space stabilized, Night Sorrow found that they had appeared in a magnificent hall. At this time, there were already people in the hall. It was the people of the Ming Yin territory. Clan. Chapter 3020. Huh, I really didn't expect this. The second one to pass is actually you, Night Sorrow. Seeing Night Sorrow's figure appear in the main hall, Ming Kei from the Life Extension territory said playfully. There was obvious disdain and sarcasm in his tone. I also didn't expect that you would be the first to pass. In my opinion, you're far inferior to Mu Ti and I. The other party wasn't in a good mood, so Yishang replied bluntly. Hearing this, Ming Kei immediately said angrily, "What did you say?" In his heart, he was still brooding over the fact that he was inferior to Mu Ti and I. I said that you're inferior to Mu Ti and I. This is something that everyone knows. Night Sorrow said indifferently. Apparently, Ming Kei was more seriously affected by this sentence than he thought. After saying this, Ming Kei's originally gloomy face was completely filled with rage. He said coldly, "You admire Mu Ti and I so much. Are you his dog? Are you relying on his power to suppress me? I can suppress you by myself. Why would I need Mu Ti and I?" Night Sorrow, who was mocked by Ming Kei, also responded disdainfully. Now that he was a half-step supremacy, he was in the same realm as Ming Kei, Mu Ti and I, and the others. Not to mention Ming Kei, he was confident that he could defeat Mu Ti and I. Ha ha ha, you want to suppress me by yourself? Anyway, the final battle hasn't started yet. Why don't we have a fight? Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Ming Kei felt like he had heard a joke. The other cultivators in the Life Extension territory also laughed. They felt that Night Sorrow, a cultivator from a barren land, was too blindly confident. At this time, Night Sorrow asked with a smile, "In this one-on-one battle, is it me versus you, or me versus the entire Life Extension territory? Why would I need help to deal with you? Of course, it's you and me one-on-one. We'll fight to the death." Ming Kei looked coldly at Night Sorrow, as if he was looking at a dead man. Night Sorrow found this ridiculous. He looked at Ming Kei with some regret and said, "Your Life Extension territory originally had a chance to fight for first place. But because of your stupidity, you'll lose this opportunity." This was what it meant by a soldier can bear the brunt of the problem, while a general can bear the brunt of the problem. Come, let's fight. Bastard, do you really think that you have a chance of winning? At this moment, Ming Kei felt that his dignity had been greatly challenged, so he immediately responded coldly. "We'll know who wins and who loses after the battle." Yishang snorted coldly and continued, "You make the first move. Let me see what methods the geniuses of the 4 great holy lands have. If you let me attack first, you won't have the chance to attack again." Ming Kei said coldly, "But to deal with a guy like you who is blindly confident, I have to kill him instantly. I'll teach you a lesson in your next life. You talk too much nonsense." Night Sorrow, who was already in the air, said, "Can we talk with strength? Good. Since you're in such a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Very soon, you will understand that the 4 holy lands are not to be trifled with." Ming Kei roared as he took out a green tree branch and wrapped it around his wrist. Then, he took out a golden long spear and shouted, "Golden spear, armored horse. 1,000 arrows piercing the heart." Then, he used the golden long spear to attack with an extremely powerful aura. The moment this move was made, immediately, countless skeleton soldiers holding golden spears and armored warhorses appeared in the air. The rays of light that were shot out turned into thousands of sharp arrows and attacked Night Sorrow from all directions. What a dazzling move. But this kind of move looks good, but has no power. How can it be a threat to me? Is this the instant killing skill you mentioned? Night Sorrow said disdainfully in the face of Ming Kei's golden spear, armored horse, and thousands of arrows. Then, he waved his golden halberd and attacked with the roaring flame demon spear. The moment this move was made, the sky was filled with phoenix flames and burned all of Ming Kei's golden spear armored horse. What? This Knight's Sorrow can easily break the leader's attack with one move. The strength he displayed is definitely above mine. Seeing that Knight's Sorrow had easily broken Ming Kei's move, the first deputy leader of Ming Yin territory, Jing Kuan, was shocked. When an expert made a move, one would know whether or not he was an expert. The attack that Knight's Sorrow had just made was something that he definitely could not do. This made Jing Kuan, who had the strength to enter the top 10 in this battle for Providence, very surprised. The other people in Ming Yin territory were the same. They originally had an endless sense of superiority, but now they were all shattered by Knight's Sorrow's attack. They instantly understood that the realm of the gods was weak, but Knight's Sorrow was definitely not weak. No wonder you are so confident. You have some ability. Let's go again. Ming Kei's face was a little embarrassed when his attack was easily resolved by Knight's Sorrow. He said coldly, "Golden spear illuminates the world." Then he waved the golden spear in his hand again and attacked Knight's Sorrow. This time, the tens of thousands of rays of light from the golden spear all turned into light pillars that were 10 feet long and continuously smashed towards Knight's Sorrow. Knight's Sorrow dodged and found that these light pillars were not simple. They could track him on their own. He decided not to dodge anymore. He created a divine essence trap array and wrapped his body, allowing the light pillars to bombard him. Although the divine essence trap array did not completely block the attack of the light pillars, it still resolved a large portion of the energy. Then, these light pillars continuously bombarded Knight's Sorrow's body, but they did not break his defense at all. After receiving this move, Knight's Sorrow looked at Ming Kei and said, "The second move. There's still the last move. I'll let you have 3 moves. Then attack again." "Let me have 3 moves? Damn it. You deserve to die. You deserve to die. Go to hell." As soon as Knight's Sorrow said these words, Ming Kei's eyes turned completely red. Then there was a huge change in his eyes. His body looked different, as if an ordinary person had been possessed by a ghost. His entire person looked a little strange. Leader is using his ultimate move. This Knight's Sorrow is really not simple. Seeing this change in Ming Kei, Jing Kuan's eyebrows immediately turned solemn, because at this time, Ming Kei had already used his desperate move. If he could not defeat Knight's Sorrow, the consequences would be unimaginable. At this time, Ming Kei had already entered a state of madness. Naturally, he did not consider this. With a dry voice, he roared, "Destiny descend. Annihilate Star Continent." In the blink of an eye, he had completely entered a state that was even more demonic than before. After entering this state, the aura around Ming Kei's body was at least 10 times stronger, and the protective divine domain was 20 times stronger. The increase in his strength could not be recorded in 1,000 miles. Now, prepare to face the fate of the destruction of your soul. Eternal Life Divination Technique. After roaring, Ming Kei summoned the nebula in the sky and smashed it toward Knight's Sorrow. It seems that this move is not as simple as the nebula. Yi Shang said with a slight frown as he looked at the nebulas crashing down from the sky. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3021. The starlight continued to fall, one after another, forming a huge nebula. When Ming Kei attacked, Knight's Sorrow could clearly feel a strange power of fate. Being pulled by the power of fate, he felt as if his emotions were shackled by someone. In an instant, Knight's Sorrow realized that the starlight attack was not the main point. The most important point of this move was the faintly discernible power of fate. For a moment, he felt that it was a little difficult to break through, so he did not immediately fight back. Instead, he let the starlight fall on his body. "Ha ha ha. Trash of the divinity territory, why don't you fight back? Do you think that the life extension territory is just a name? We have the complete life extension inheritance, but the inheritance in your divinity territory has long been cut off." Seeing Knight's Sorrow standing in the same place, being bombarded by countless starlight, Ming Kei laughed. A smug smile appeared on his face as he shouted arrogantly. His attacks just now had no effect, which made him very unhappy. At this moment, he finally vented his anger. Night Sorrow! Night Sorrow! What's wrong with you? Why aren't you moving? Wu Lingfei, who was in the void abode, immediately shouted anxiously when she saw that Night Sorrow was not moving and was letting the starlight attack him. Master Wan Jian also said anxiously, "Wake up! Wake up! If you continue to be bombarded, your body won't be able to withstand it." When Night Sorrow was bombarded by the starlight, they could clearly feel that the earth was shaking and the mountains were shaking. Obviously, this was the vibration caused by a Night Sorrow's body being bombarded. The feeling of being on the verge of collapse made their hearts tremble. However, in response to everyone's silence, what the hell was going on? At this moment, Xiao Tianxian was also worried. This was because Yi Shang's body seemed to be on the verge of collapse. After thinking for a moment, Xiao Tianxian said, "Chaos, why don't you go out and help? Help Night Sorrow resolve some of the attacks. I can't go out. And if I go out, Ming Ke will definitely summon a powerful battle pet. Do you think that the top geniuses of the 4 Holy Lands will not bring their battle pets to participate in the battle for fate?" Hun Dun, who did not want to go out, found an excuse. However, this excuse was basically valid. Everyone in the celestial realm sighed. At this moment, Night Sorrow's protective divine domain had been completely destroyed by the successive attacks, and all sorts of injuries had appeared all over his body. Looking at Night Sorrow's appearance, Ming Ke proudly said, "Your body is quite solid." But it was useless. As the saying goes, a centipede dies but never falls down. This Night Sorrow isn't easy to deal with. I need to kill him quickly. Jing Kuan shouted anxiously when he saw that Ming Ke, who had freed up his hands, did not launch any follow-up attacks. What do you know? Do you really think that the Eternal Life Divination technique is so easy to use? Upon hearing this, Ming Ke immediately rebuked angrily. Just now, he had used the Eternal Life Divination technique, causing his body to be completely drained. Even if he had secretly taken some elixirs, he would still need some time to recover his divine origin force. "Yes, sir." After being reprimanded, Jing Kuan immediately bowed and nodded. At this time, the people in the celestial realm became even more anxious, because the motionless Night Sorrow had become a fish on the chopping board, allowing the knife to cut it. "No, we can't just watch Night Sorrow be killed. We have to think of a way." The anxious Wu Lingfei was about to cry. Seeing Yi Shang in such a state, her heart ached for him. "Lingfei, I'm fine." At this moment, Night Sorrow suddenly transmitted his voice over. Then his body began to move as well. "What happened to you just now?" asked Wu Lingfei suspiciously. "What's wrong with you?" "Just now, I used the sea serpent's eye to observe and used my heart to comprehend the power of destiny. Now, I can also use a move similar to Ming Ke." "Really? Aren't you a little too strong?" "After being attacked once, you comprehended the opponent's unique skill?" Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Master Wan Jian immediately said excitedly, "It wasn't a matter of copying a cat and drawing a tiger. Instead, it was a comprehension of the concept, comprehending a similar move." Night Sorrow explained and continued, "I'll fight with him first. I'll talk about it later." After saying this, Night Sorrow soared into the sky and shot the Supreme Reincarnation Spear toward the endless starlight. This move was completely the momentum of the Overlord Spear. A huge light beam directly annihilated all the starlight in the sky. In a moment, the originally bright, starry sky dimmed again. At this time, Night Sorrow looked at Ming Ke and said, "The 3 moves I gave you are over. Now, it's time for you to receive my attack. I didn't expect you to recover." At this time, facing Night Sorrow again, Ming Ke was obviously a little flustered. After all, his divine origin force had not completely recovered. "It's a pity that you haven't recovered. Killing you is like killing a chicken and cooking a rabbit." Night Sorrow used his divine origin force to scan and determined that Ming Ke had not recovered at all. He had no power to fight at all. At this time, he did not waste any time and directly shot the forbidden spear at him. Although the forbidden spear was not considered the strongest among Knight Soro's skills, it was enough to deal with Ming Ke in front of him. It's true that I don't have the power to fight, but my battle pet has it. Come out. Life Amplification Magic Dragon. At this time, Ming Ke unwillingly summoned his battle pet. The Life Amplification Magic Dragon was half a step away from becoming an earthly supreme. The Life Amplification Magic Dragon was actually one of the guardian beasts of Life Amplification's territory. It had a very high status in Life Amplification's territory. Its combat strength was imaginable. Originally, it existed as a deterrent to check and balance the sacred beasts of other territories. At this time, it had come in handy. How dare you hurt my people in Life Amplification's territory? I won't let you go. The Life Amplification Magic Dragon was summoned. It immediately stretched out its huge dragon claws and directly grabbed Knight Soro's golden heavenly halberd. Its strength was evident. Isn't it just a peak earthly supreme? What's there to be arrogant about? Facing the Life Amplification Magic Dragon, Knight Soro was not afraid at all. He immediately activated the 33 Heavens Battle Secret technique and raised his strength to the peak. Then he suddenly shot the Supreme Reincarnation Spear at the Life Amplification Magic Dragon and Ming Ke. Supreme Reincarnation Spear? You just used it once. I'm clear about the situation. It's not a threat at all. The Life Amplification Magic Dragon responded to Knight Soro's Supreme Reincarnation Spear with disdain. Then, it used the Magic Dragon's power to fight against it. It successfully dissolved the spear. That was your strongest technique, wasn't it? Otherwise, you wouldn't have used it twice. The Life Amplification Magic Dragon said arrogantly after it dissolved the Supreme Reincarnation Spear. It did not take Knight Soro seriously at all. At this time, Knight Soro said with a murderous look, I was just testing your strength. My real killer move is right here. At the same time, Knight Soro attacked Ming Ke and the Life Amplification Magic Dragon with the move that he had just figured out. Eternal Life Amplification Spear. Clan M. Chapter 3022. Eternal Life Amplification Spear. When Knight Soro shouted this name, Ming Ke and Ming Yin Magic Dragon were both stunned. Because from the name, it was related to the Eternal Life Divination Technique, the strongest technique in the Life Divination territory. While they were surprised, Knight Soro completely blasted out the Eternal Life Amplification Spear. This move was similar to the Eternal Life Amplification Technique, but the Supreme Reincarnation Spear replaced the starlight in the sky. No, this is exactly the same as our Eternal Life Amplification Technique. Senior Magic Dragon, be careful. Feeling the aura of the Eternal Life Amplification Spear, Ming Ke immediately warned. However, it was too late for him to react. Whether it was him or the Life Amplification Magic Dragon, they were both suppressed by fate. In an instant, Ming Ke and the Life Amplification Magic Dragon were stunned on the spot, looking exactly the same as Knight Soro. However, Knight Soro was comprehending the essence of the power of fate at that time. Ming Ke and the Life Amplification Magic Dragon were completely suppressed. Go to hell. At this moment, the Eternal Life Amplification Spear was already close to them. After thinking for a while, Knight Soro chose to attack Ming Quebec. After all, Ming Ke was the leader of the Life Amplification territory, and the Life Amplification Magic Dragon was only his battle pet. Boom! With a loud bang, the Supreme Reincarnation Spear suddenly blasted Ming Ke's body. The geniuses of the four sacred lands were indeed full of treasures. Originally, Knight Soro thought that this move would directly kill Ming Ke, but it was blocked by a secret treasure that automatically protected its owner. However, this protective armor was also shattered into powder in the blink of an eye. For a moment, Ming Ke became embarrassed, and his clothes did not cover his body. Ming Ke, who had exchanged for being lost, was immediately furious when he saw that he had become like this. At the same time, he used his protective energy to cover his body. Night Sorrow. Today, you will definitely die. I will cut you into pieces. Life Amplification Magic Dragon. Cooperate with me. Ming Ke, who was angry out of humiliation, went completely crazy. He directly burned his bloodline power and entered a desperate posture. However, at this moment, the Life Amplification Magic Dragon was not attacked. It was still receiving the punishment of the power of destiny and had yet to awaken. For a time, Ming Ke felt extremely helpless. Without a doubt, it should be you. Night Sorrow sneered and used the Divine Origin Trapping Array to lock Ming Ke in. Then, he casually swung his golden heavenly halberd. Although it was just an ordinary attack, it had shattered Ming Ke's dantian. Then, without giving him a chance, he attacked his spirit once again. However, this time, Night Sorrow once again encountered resistance from the secret treasure. Not only did he fail to crush Ming Ke's spirit, but he was also injured by the backlash. If it wasn't for the fact that his divine soul was strong enough, his divine soul might have been destroyed. He was indeed a treasure snatcher. Let's see what else you can rely on next. After his soul was shaken, Night Sorrow snorted coldly and attacked again. Ming Ke no longer had the ability to resist. Seeing that he was about to die, his spirit immediately threatened. Night Sorrow, I came to Ming Yan's territory. How dare you kill me? Your territory in the realm of gods will be destroyed. My territory in the realm of gods already has a grudge with your territory. What's the use of talking nonsense? We're talking about points and life and death. Die, Night Sorrow said. Without any hesitation, he killed Ming Quebec. After Ming Ke was killed, the Ming Yin magic dragon immediately woke up. At this time, the deputy leader of Ming Yan's territory, Jing Kun, immediately shouted, Master Ming Yin magic dragon, Master Ming Ke has been killed. Please kill Night Sorrow immediately to avenge him. I've thought about it too, but there's nothing I can do. Since Ming Ke has been killed, I can't stay here any longer. After saying that, the Ming Yin magic dragon was expelled from the Eternal Divine Tower. At this time, Jing Kun was completely dumbfounded. Without Ming Ke, the strength of Ming Yan's territory suffered a devastating blow. Night Sorrow, I didn't misjudge you. You're indeed very strong. After Night Sorrow killed Ming Ke, Mu Tianai said with a smile, I'm still not as strong as you. Is that what you're trying to say? Night Sorrow glanced at Mu Tianai. He could feel that Mu Tianai was at ease. It was as if in his eyes, the battle between Night Sorrow and Ming Ke was a battle between juniors. Others might not be able to feel it, but Night Sorrow, who cultivated the power of virtue, could. Is that so? I don't feel that way. Mu Tianai still had that calm and confident smile on his face. I can feel your emotions. Night Sorrow replied and ignored Mu Tianai. Mu Tianai had an invincible will, and so did Night Sorrow. He felt that he would not lose if he encountered Mu Tianai. However, judging from the current situation, Mu Tianai must have a way to suppress him. Otherwise, Mu Tianai would not have acted like this. At this time, Xian Xingyu, the leader of Jiao Xian's territory, sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, originally, I was going to kill you first, but you killed Ming Ke and removed the strongest obstacle for Jiao Xian's territory. So, I've decided to recruit you. Jiao Xian's territory will take first place, and you will take second place. What do you think? You should focus on increasing your strength. If I can kill Ming Ke, I can kill you too. Also, I want to take first place. As Yishang replied, he also revealed the goal he had in mind. All the territories in front of him had attacked the supreme longevity and the realm of the gods. In his heart, he swore to himself that he would suppress these territories. Now, that Night Sorrow had become a half-step supreme. He had personally killed Ming Ke from Ming Yan's territory. Therefore, he told Xian Xingyu about his goal of taking first place. Xian Xingyu would never form an alliance with these people who had attacked the realm of the gods. You want to take first place in the Battle of Providence by yourself? I think you're dreaming. After Night Sorrow finished speaking, Xian Qingyu laughed and shouted at the others. Listen to this. Night Sorrow from the realm of the gods wants to take first place in the Battle of Providence. This is the biggest joke in the world. Huh? You want to challenge the Geo Xian territory by yourself? Or do you think you're a match for Mu Ti and I? After Xian Qingyu finished speaking, everyone in the Geo Xian territory laughed. The other territories, including Ming Yan's territory, could not laugh. They had already felt the same pressure from Night Sorrow as they did from Mu Ti and I. They even felt that even if they used all their strength, they would not be able to fight against him. For a moment, everyone in the Geo Xian territory laughed. The atmosphere was very strange. Let's wait and see. Night Sorrow did not care about Xian Qingyu's mockery and the Geo Xian territory sneers. After saying that, he sat down and rested, waiting for the final battle to begin. At this point, not only did Night Sorrow have the ambition to be the champion, but the rest of the realm of the gods were also looking forward to it. They hoped that Night Sorrow could create an impossible miracle. With his own strength, he would lead the weak realm of the gods to take first place in the Battle of Providence. Chapter 3023. There are still 2 territories that have yet to appear. I wonder if they have been eliminated. At this time, Wu Lingfei carefully reminded. If those 2 territories were eliminated, it meant that the realm of the gods would at least get the 6th place. This was an unprecedented result for the realm of the gods. It's not time yet. When it's time, everything will be revealed. Let me recover first. After saying that, Night Sorrow continued to recover, preparing to be in his best condition for the championship battle. About 3 days after Yishang had recovered, Yin Heng's shadow appeared. He announced to everyone that the Blood Fury territory and Annihilation territory had been eliminated. The remaining territories were Jiuxian territory, Tianshao territory, Realm of the Gods, Ming Yin territory, Saint Spirit territory, and Burning Sky territory. After saying this, Yin Hengshi smiled and said, "The order I just mentioned is the current strength ranking of each territory. I hope you can all achieve better results than this ranking. But obviously, this is impossible. Some people laugh, some people cry. The Realm of the Gods is actually ranked 3rd. Doesn't that mean that Night Sorrow alone can defeat us? Seems like it's impossible to avenge the Realm of the Gods." Hearing Yin Hengshi's words, Ming Yin Territory's vice leader, Jing Kuan, said unhappily. Currently, it was not easy for them to maintain their position in the top 4. As for the Saint Spirit territory and Burning Sky territory, they were already satisfied with their current results. But they all wanted to rush into the top 4 and make history in the battle for Providence. At this moment, Xian Qingyu of the 9 Profound Estate smiled at the people of the Sacred Spirit Estate and the Burning Sky Estate. As long as the 2 of you pledge allegiance to the 9 Profound Estate and help us deal with Mu Ti and I and Yishang, you'll be fine. I guarantee that you will enter the top 4. When he said this, the Saint Ape of the Saint Spirit territory and Burning Sky territories, Fenya, did not dare to speak. Instead, they secretly replied that they were willing. They knew that Xian Qingyu was being too high-profile. If the 2 of them agreed in public, they would definitely be resisted by the others. Cowards, the situation is so obvious, and you're still afraid. You're not someone who can accomplish anything. Xian Qingyu snorted in disdain when he heard the 2's voice transmission. But he did not care too much. This time, it was the best opportunity for the 9 Profound territory to create history. He was rather excited. As for Mu Ti and I, his gaze once again landed on Night Sorrow. He waved his paper fan and said with a smile, "Among all the heroes in the world, only you and I are worthy. You flatter me." Night Sorrow looked at Mu Ti and I and said calmly. Hearing this, Xian Qingyu wore an unpleasant expression and said in a provoking tone, "I'm interested to see how the 2 of you are going to survive the duel." The 9 Profound region's overall strength was originally already ranked in the number 1 position. At this time, with the addition of the Holy Spirit territory and Burning Sky territory, it could be said to be like adding wings to a tiger. This gave Xian Qingyu endless confidence. However, Mu Tianai merely glanced at him and ignored him. Instead, he turned to Night Sorrow and said, I look forward to our battle. But before we fight, can we get rid of the noisy Xian Qingyu first? After Mu Tianai finished speaking, Night Sorrow also glanced at Xian Qingyu and said, It's impossible for us to work together, but I can agree to your request. Bastard, if you have the guts, do it now. Seeing Mu Tianai and Night Sorrow's gazes, Xian Qingyu shouted indignantly. At this time, in the eyes of the people from the Life Evolution Territory, Holy Spirit Territory, and Burning Sky Territory, Night Sorrow, who was born in the realm of the gods, had become a terrifying existence similar to Mu Tianai. Your chance to fight will come soon. At this time, Yin Hengshi said with a smile. As for the last round, it looks like a duel on the surface, but it's actually a process of seizing treasures. Get ready. After 10 breaths, I will send you to the Myriad Treasure Palace. There are treasures everywhere, and you can fight for them as you wish. He had been paying attention to the smell of gunpowder in the air. His mood was not affected. Senior, I have something to ask. After Yin Hengshi finished speaking, Xian Qingyu suddenly spoke. Facing Yin Hengshi, he was more polite and did not act presumptuously. Speak. Yin Hengshi's illusory figure waved his hand and said, Senior, may I ask who you are? Xian Qingyu asked curiously. In fact, even Night Sorrow was a little curious about this question. I am one of the earliest living beings in the Eternal Supreme Realm who gained spiritual intelligence. Yin Hengshi replied and continued. Okay, time's up. You can get ready. Yes, Senior. Xian Qingyu obviously wanted to ask more, but he could tell that Yin Hengshi did not want to say more, so he responded softly. Then, under the feet of the participants, a light circle of the teleportation formation appeared. After a flash of light, they collectively appeared outside the door of Small Palace. After Night Sorrow activated the eye of the sea serpent, he could even see the end of this palace. It was very small. It looks like a big battle is inevitable. Night Sorrow looked around and was sure that there would be a big battle in this place. Boom, boom, boom. At this time, in the palace, some of the items that were originally very dim burst into a bright light one after another. That a half step to earthly sovereign divine artifact. We can't miss it. In front of us, there is a secret treasure that we can't see the depth of. After the bright light burst out, a large number of divine artifacts, spiritual pills, materials, and other treasures all burst out with brilliance. Everyone, including Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai, could not help but open their eyes wide. The first thing that Night Sorrow saw was a spear-shaped divine artifact. The grade of this spear was much higher than the golden heavenly halberd in his hand. The golden heavenly halberd was just an ordinary divine artifact, while the nameless silver spear was at the level of a half step to earthly sovereign. The difference was huge. Brother Yi, go and grab it. With it, you will be like a tiger that has grown wings. The Myriad Sword sect in the space cave also saw the silver spear in front of them and anxiously reminded them. No hurry. Let's see how the others perform first. If anyone tries to grab the silver spear, I will fight with them. In front of him, there were divine artifacts, secret treasures, and spiritual pills everywhere. Night Sorrow was not in a hurry to attack. At this time, Xian Qingyu's eyes had turned red. He laughed loudly and said, Attack. We have an absolute advantage in numbers. The number of treasures we have will definitely crush Mu Tianai and Night Sorrow easily. When the time comes, killing them will be a piece of cake. After Xian Qingyu gave the order, the people of the Jiuxian estate immediately moved and rushed into the palace. Seeing the people of the Jiuxian estate move, the Divine Spirit estate and the Burning Sky estate, who had already decided to follow them, also moved. Clan. Chapter 3024. Let's do it. But don't fight with anyone. We're in an awkward situation now. It's best to stay out of trouble. Seeing that the people from the 3 territories had begun to move, Jing Kun, the vice leader of the Mingyan territory, had ordered his people to fight for the treasure. However, he had ordered them not to fight with anyone. This was the most humiliating order in the history of the Mingyan territory. However, Ming Ke had been killed by Night Sorrow. They could not join forces with Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai. Moreover, Xian Xingyu from the Jiuxian territory had not extended an olive branch to them, so they could only tuck their tails between their legs. Brother Yi, everyone is moving. Why are you still sitting there? Seeing that Night Sorrow had not made a move, Mu Tianai walked over and smiled. There's no hurry. I want that silver spear. It's fine as long as no one fights for it. Night Sorrow looked at the silver spear and replied. There were many good things in the Myriad treasure palace. Even he did not have the ability to understand them in an instant. As for the silver spear in front of him, he wanted it the moment he saw it. My target is the innermost pagoda. Mu Tianai pointed at a small pagoda in the deepest part of the palace. The small pagoda was only the size of a palm. If one did not look carefully, they would not be able to see its existence. After Mu Tianai finished speaking, Night Sorrow looked at it with the sea serpent's eye. This is the aura of an earthly, sovereign artifact. Could it be the eternal divine tower? After looking at it with the sea serpent's eye, Night Sorrow immediately confirmed that the small pagoda was an earthly, sovereign artifact. He asked in confusion. Hearing this, Mu Tianai smiled and said, I've heard that the real eternal divine tower only exists in legends, surpassing the Earth Supremes. Although the small pagoda in front of us is an earthly, sovereign artifact, it's definitely not the eternal divine tower. Just as he finished speaking, Mu Tianai exclaimed, They seem to be in trouble. At this time, Night Sorrow looked at the people who had already made a move. After entering the palace, they were like ordinary people who had fallen into a quagmire. They could not fly at all, and their speed had become extremely slow. Some of the weaker ones were even stuck in place, unable to move an inch. As for Xian Xingyu, he had already traveled 10,000 meters. His target was a half-step earthly, supreme-level longsword 20,000 meters away. The location of this longsword was 1,000 meters closer to the silver spear that Night Sorrow was paying attention to. It seems that one should take treasures of the same level as one's strength. Seeing the situation in front of him, Mu Tianai smiled and said. He thought for a moment and continued, If I'm not wrong, whoever goes the furthest will be the champion of this year's Battle of Providence. After all, the final champion of the War of Providence is not only determined by the strength of the territory, but also the strength of the individual. Yes, that's very likely. I'm making my move. Night Sorrow nodded and stepped into the palace ahead of Mu Tianai, heading towards the silver spear. The silver spear was too close to the longsword that Xian Xingyu wanted. If Xian Xingyu got the longsword, it would not be easy for him to get the silver spear. When Night Sorrow passed by the cultivators of the other territories, although they were hostile towards him, no one dared to attack him. At this time, Xian Xingyu was moving forward and did not care about these things. I got it. At this time, Jing Kun of Mingyan territory was the first to take an umbrella-shaped supreme artifact in his hand. Although this umbrella-shaped supreme artifact was of the same grade as the one in his hand, the aura that it exuded was much stronger. Holding in his hand, Jing Kun was very excited and was ready to move on to other items. If you want to get me, defeat me first. At this time, the weapon spirit of the umbrella-shaped supreme artifact appeared in the void. It attacked Jing Kun. As the battle between them exploded, everyone understood that if they wanted to get the supreme artifact, they had to conquer it. While Jing Kun and the weapon spirit were fighting, Night Sorrow was moving closer to the silver spear. He was about 5,000 meters away. At this time, he was close to the longsword that he had his eyes on. However, when he got closer, he did not take the longsword. Instead, he waited for Night Sorrow. Obviously, he was afraid that his battle with a longsword's weapon spirit would lead to Night Sorrow's sneak attack. In response, Night Sorrow, who was close to the longsword, smiled disdainfully and continued to move toward the silver spear. He did not take Xian Xingyu seriously at all. When he got close to the silver spear, Knight Sorrow immediately realized that the silver spear was actually incomplete. However, in its incomplete state, it was still at the level of a half-step to earthly sovereign. Obviously, when it was in perfect condition, it should be at least an earthly sovereign artifact. Very good. Fight with me. I will help you to successfully return to your peak, even surpass your previous strongest state. Standing near the silver spear, Knight Sorrow immediately felt his chi and blood surging. You want to help my eternal silver dragon spear return to its peak? You are too arrogant. When the eternal silver dragon spear heard Knight Sorrow's words, it immediately said disdainfully, I don't care how great you were in the past. Right now, your best choice is to submit to me. Otherwise, you will be covered in dust forever. Being despised by the eternal silver dragon spear, Knight Sorrow said indifferently, if you want my eternal silver dragon spear to surrender, then show me your true strength. It's useless to talk nonsense here. After the eternal silver dragon spear said that, it completely exploded with a shocking aura. Obviously, it was much more powerful than an ordinary half-step to earthly sovereign artifact. What did Knight Sorrow choose? Why is its aura so powerful? The people who were in the middle of the battle were all shocked when they saw the aura of the silver spear that Knight Sorrow had chosen. God is really on my side. Knight Sorrow, after you make your move, you will die. Xian Qingyu, who was closest to him, laughed. At this moment, he still did not attack the long sword that he had chosen. He wanted to launch a sneak attack after Knight Sorrow made his move. If you are confident enough, then launch a sneak attack on me. At this moment, Knight Sorrow looked at Xian Qingyu and said that. Then, he started a fight with the eternal silver dragon spear. Although the eternal silver dragon spear was only controlled by the artifact spirit, its attack was very fierce. It was like a silver dragon, but also like lightning. It was extremely fast. Very good. It's powerful enough. Knight Sorrow, who was holding the golden heavenly halberd, saw how powerful the eternal silver dragon spear was, and his body instantly exploded with the strongest fighting spirit. Although the golden heavenly halberd was much weaker than the eternal silver dragon spear, in the hands of Knight Sorrow, the combat power that it released was obviously not inferior to the other party. For a moment, the two sides were engaged in an earth-shattering battle. After fighting for a while, no one could do anything to the other. How dare you threaten me? Let's see how you will die. What can you do if I attack? At this moment, Xian Qingyu, who looked sinister, saw that Mu Tianai had also started to fight with a divine artifact. Immediately, he took out a secret treasure and threw it at Knight Sorrow. Clan M. Chapter 3025. Xian Qingyu threw out a secret treasure that looked like a pot lid. It looked like a pot lid, but its aura was very powerful. It was obviously of the supreme level, and was very special. After it was thrown out, it immediately smashed Knight Sorrow's protective divine domain. After shattering Yishang's protective divine domain, the secret treasure that looked like a pot lid flew straight back to its owner. Xian Qingyu, you're good. Knight Sorrow, whose divine domain was smashed, did not panic. Instead, he continued to fight with the eternal silver dragon spear. His combat strength had decreased to a certain extent after his divine domain was broken. It was a little uncomfortable to be suppressed by the eternal silver dragon spear. As for the eternal silver dragon spear, it did not seem to care about Xian Qingyu's sneak attack on Knight Sorrow. It was still attacking Knight Sorrow crazily. At this moment, Knight Sorrow, who was feeling unhappy, completely exploded. He used the 33 Heavens Battle secret technique and raised his strength to the strongest. He said coldly, I don't want to destroy the spear body, so I've been holding back. Since you, as an artifact spirit, don't cooperate, then I'll annihilate you. You only know how to spout nonsense. This artifact spirit will destroy you right now. The eternal silver dragon spear replied arrogantly, and its attack became even fiercer. It It was obvious that this artifact spirit had that kind of fierce personality. Soon, you will understand how ridiculous your choice is, Night Sorrow said coldly and roared. Eternal Life Amplification Spear. He still attacked the Eternal Silver Dragon Spear with this move. In his opinion, he had to settle the internal situation first to resist the external threat. Boom! The moment Night Sorrow attacked with the Eternal Life Amplification, the Eternal Silver Dragon Spear, which was originally fierce, was immediately frozen in place and stopped all attacks. Facing the power of destiny that Night Sorrow had deduced as an artifact spirit, he had no ability to fight back at all. It was immediately shattered into pieces. This time, are you convinced? Night Sorrow asked as he reached out and grabbed the artifact spirit of the Eternal Silver Dragon Spear in his hand. No, my Eternal Silver Dragon Spear would rather break than bend. Although your strength is stronger than mine, you are not qualified to make me submit to you. Just kill me. The weapon spirit of the Eternal Silver Dragon Spear said this out of the blue. There's a saying that a wise man submits to circumstances. Since you don't know what's good for you, you can only be annihilated. Your era is over. Be destroyed. Even though the spear spirit of the Eternal Silver Dragon Spear was defeated, it still looked down on Night Sorrow. This made Night Sorrow a little annoyed. He directly shattered the spear spirit of the Eternal Silver Dragon Spear and completely obliterated it. Then he glanced at the Eternal Silver Dragon Spear and said, I gave you a way out, but you didn't take it. You can only become a material. After saying that, Night Sorrow threw the Eternal Silver Dragon Spear into the Golden Heavenly Halberd. Let the Golden Heavenly Halberd completely absorb the Eternal Silver Dragon Spear. After absorbing the Eternal Silver Dragon Spear, the Golden Heavenly Halberd was instantly promoted to half-step earthly sovereign. As for the Eternal Silver Dragon Spear, it would forever disappear in the long river of history. Night Sorrow, you've really wasted a great gift. You don't want such a good divine weapon, and instead, you use it as a material. Seeing Night Sorrow make such a choice, Xian Xingyu immediately mocked him. If I'm not wrong, the other people in the Jiuxian territory shouldn't have come here. At this time, Night Sorrow looked coldly at Xian Xingyu and said, Next, we should settle the score for the sneak attack just now. Oomph. If they can't come, I'll just leave. I don't want a long sword in front of me anymore. Let's see what you can do to me. Xian Xingyu, who did not have much confidence in facing Night Sorrow, said and began to retreat. At this time, Night Sorrow did not pursue him. This was because he realized that Mu Tianai had also obtained a divine weapon, and he was already walking toward the small pagoda in the distance. The small pagoda should be 108,000 meters away. With his strength, he shouldn't be able to reach it. Seeing that Mu Tianai kept moving forward toward the small pagoda, he was puzzled and looked at some of the spiritual pills and secret treasures nearby. For him, the small pagoda was out of his reach. According to Night Sorrow's judgment, with the strength of half-step supremes, it was already very good for them to be able to walk 60,000 to 70,000 meters. It was impossible for them to reach the small pagoda. After that, Mu Tianai continued to move forward, but Night Sorrow soon fought with other spiritual pills and weapon spirits. Soon, he obtained many half-step supremes. Unknowingly, Night Sorrow had already walked more than 40,000 meters. Mu Tianai stopped at 71,000 meters, unable to go any further. Seeing Mu Tianya's performance, Night Sorrow relaxed a little. Now that he had obtained so many good things, he should not be inferior to Mu Tianya's ability. Therefore, he continued to fight with other opportunities without worrying. At this time, Xian Xingyu gathered all the people from the three territories and rushed toward Night Sorrow's position. They seemed to have obtained an incredible divine weapon that could temporarily resist the suppression of the palace. What's going on? Inside the space cave, Myriad Sword Sect saw the people from the three territories rushing toward Night Sorrow without being affected. He asked in surprise. They don't have such ability by themselves. They must have obtained some secret treasure. Seeing the people from a Nine Mysteries estate, Divine Spirit estate, and Burning Sky estate approaching him, Knight Sorrow did not panic. He moved and continued to walk deeper. He did not believe that the secret treasure in the palace would be so mysterious that it could block the suppression without limit. As expected, when the people from the three territories reached about 40,000 meters, ordinary cultivators could no longer move forward. Then, only Xianxingyu, the leader of the Divine Spirit Estate, Holy Ape, and Burning Sky Estates, Funmie were left. You guys stay here and see if you can get some opportunities. Also, stop the people from the Life Extension Estate, and don't let them overtake us. The three of us will deal with Knight Sorrow and Mu Tianai, Xianxingyu said. Then, he led the leader of the Divine Spirit Estate, Holy Ape, and Burning Sky Estates Funmie toward Knight Sorrow's position. With the help of the secret treasure, the three people who were weaker than Knight Sorrow gradually closed the distance between them. At this moment, Mu Tianai suddenly sat down and meditated. His aura seemed to have changed in an instant. Mu Tianai, are you trying to advance to the Supreme Being level here and then fight for the small pagoda? Seeing the change in Mu Tianai's aura, Knight Sorrow immediately realized what he was trying to do. At this moment, Xianxingyu shouted, Mu Tianai wants to advance to the Supreme Being level. It will take a while. The three of us. Kill Knight Sorrow first, then kill Mu Tianai. As long as we kill them, we will be able to take the top 3 places. Okay, we will do our best. The leader of the Divine Spirit Estate, Holy Ape, and Burning Sky Estates, Funmie said in unison. At this moment, Knight Sorrow was not far away from Mu Tianai. He could easily lead the battle to Mu Tianai's position. However, he did not do that. Instead, he faced Xianxingyu and the other two alone. Clan M. Chapter 30-26. Knight Sorrow. Let's see how you're going to escape this time. Xianxingyu, who was leading the Holy Ape from the Holy Spirit territory and Funmie from the Burning Sky territory, chased after Knight Sorrow. At this moment, the palace's suppression was very strong. Although they had secret treasures on them, their movements were still very slow. If they were to fight, there wouldn't be any flying skills. It would be more like a fight between martial arts experts. Everything would seem to be returning to its original state. In this situation, Knight Sorrow wasn't afraid. He looked at Xianxingyu and said, I'm not going to escape. After saying that, Knight Sorrow grasped the golden heavenly halberd in his hand. He originally thought that in the final battle, he would face many cultivators from these territories. Now that he was facing Xianxingyu, Holy Ape, and Funmie, he felt that he had won. At least, Mu Tianai didn't fight against him with them. After all, the territories of the Divine Realm could be said to be enemies with the whole world. If you're not going to escape, then prepare to die. Xianxingyu, who was facing Knight Sorrow, had a crazy look on his face. In his opinion, he only had 2 opponents left. As long as he defeated Knight Sorrow and Mu Tianai, the 9 Profound territory would be the final champion. Therefore, he was very excited at this moment. Moreover, Mu Tianai was trying to break through to the Supremacy Realm. Xianxingyu was a little anxious. He didn't want him to succeed. After saying that, he shouted, Attack! Use your strongest move. Kill him instantly. We're 3 against 1. There's no way we can't kill him. Okay, attack. We can't delay. Mu Tianai is still there. The Holy Ape from a Holy Spirit territory was like his name, an ape-like Holy Spirit. He was very tall and spoke loudly. Not only did his words put pressure on Knight Sorrow, but it also made Mu Tianai, who was cultivating, frown. Mu Tianai was so shocked by his words that he vomited blood. Obviously, the Holy Ape wasn't just talking. He directly used a sound wave attack on Mu Tianai. However, Mu Tianai didn't stop his rhythm because of this and continued to cultivate. At this moment, the Holy Ape from the Holy Spirit territory smiled and continued. When a battle starts, I won't let Mu Tianai off. Very good. Xianxingyu smiled and said, Let's attack together and eliminate Knight Sorrow. Good. Burning Heaven 7 Slaughter Art. Incineration responded and immediately attacked Night Sorrow. Originally, this move of his could have produced an earth-shattering effect. However, under the suppression of the palace, the area of effect was much smaller. Even so, it was still able to burn a large area. Not only did the flames engulf Night Sorrow, but they also affected Mu Tianai. This made Mu Tianai extremely uncomfortable. At this moment, Night Sorrow was rather speechless. Because he was wearing the Phoenix battle armor, he was basically unafraid of fire. This burning flame attack did not pose any threat to him at all. Night Sorrow thought to himself, "If I'm not mistaken, this incineration won't have any effect at all." However, that was not the case in the eyes of Xian Qingyu and the others. When he and Sacred Ape saw that Night Sorrow was covered in flames, they felt that Night Sorrow must have been suppressed. Thus, they each began to attack. Sacred Ape took out an incomparably huge iron rod and smashed it towards Night Sorrow's position with great force. As for Xian Qingyu, he took out a disc-like Dharma artifact from his spatial artifact and threw it towards Night Sorrow's head. After this Dharma artifact was thrown out, it immediately emitted a dark black light. After being illuminated by this black light, Night Sorrow felt that 10% of the strength in his body seemed to have been sucked away. Treistrimsa Heaven Battle Secret Technique. After losing 10% of his strength, Night Sorrow instantly used the Treistrimsa Heaven Battle Secret Technique to increase his strength. Holding the golden heavenly halberd, he smashed it towards Sacred Ape's iron rod. An earth-shattering sound of metal colliding rang out. When everyone saw this, they were immediately shocked. Night Sorrow's golden heavenly halberd had actually made a dent in Sacred Ape's divine tool with one strike. Night Sorrow's divine tool is terrifyingly hard. Both of you, be careful. Sacred Ape was very distressed that his divine tool had been damaged in one strike. Xian Qingyu snorted and said, "Who cares if it's terrifying or not? Let's just attack together. Two fists are no match for four hands. He definitely won't be able to withstand our attacks." After saying this, Xian Qingyu took out his supreme-grade longsword. Previously, he had been guarding against Night Sorrow and had not used his half-step earthly supreme-grade longsword. This was because his divine tool was also a grade lower than Night Sorrow's. As for Incinerate, the sudden appearance of his own flames did not seem to have much effect on Night Sorrow. After thinking for a while, he took out a pair of bronze hammers from his spatial artifact. His pair of bronze hammers looked very small, only the size of a palm. However, they gave off an extremely heavy feeling. This pair of bronze hammers seems very extraordinary. Night Sorrow used the sea serpent's eye to observe them, and immediately felt that this pair of bronze hammers was different from the rest. It was different from the Samsara heavenly halberd and Xian Qingyu's longsword. It gave off a sense of vicissitudes of history. At first glance, one could tell that it was a divine tool that had been passed down from ancient times. Not only did Night Sorrow realize this, Xian Qingyu also praised, "This pair of bronze hammers is very extraordinary. With their help, it will be easier for us to kill Night Sorrow. This is a life-saving item that the holy leader gave to me," Incinerate said as he raised the bronze hammers and threw them towards Night Sorrow. There was no need for Incinerate to control them. The pair of bronze hammers attacked Night Sorrow ferociously. After the collision with the bronze hammers, Night Sorrow suddenly realized that this was a damaged, earthly, supreme-grade divine tool. At this moment, he was puzzled. If there had been an earthly, supreme-grade divine tool many years ago, then there must have been an earthly, supreme-grade divine tool. However, in the eternal supreme world, the first earthly, supreme-grade divine tool was Supreme Longevity. And Supreme Longevity survival was not that long ago. It gave off a feeling that it was not as old as the pair of bronze hammers in front of him. What's going on? Could it be that there was an even older existence in the foggy area that Xie Jian spoke of? And where did he get this pair of bronze hammers from? If he got it from there, does that mean that the people in Burning Sky territory already know the secret of becoming an earthly, supreme-grade divine tool? At this moment, Knight Sorrow, who was fighting against the bronze hammers, was suddenly filled with thoughts. However, these were all guesses without much evidence. He was not sure if he was prepared. Moreover, Xian Qingyu and the Holy Ape were already attacking him. Both sides quickly formed a situation where three heroes were fighting against Lu Bu. No matter how strong Knight Sorrow's close combat skills were, he did not have the ability to be distracted and think about problems. Wielding the golden heavenly halberd, he fought against the three of them. Among the three of them, Incinerate's divine tool was the best and gave Knight Sorrow the most pressure. Against his bronze hammers, Knight Sorrow felt as if he was fighting against the heavens and earth. It was a very special feeling. At this moment, he had a slight epiphany in his heart. However, as he was in the middle of a battle, he naturally would not stop to cultivate. Instead, he continuously waved the golden heavenly halberd and fought madly. Chapter 30:27. Everyone had been fighting for about 100 breaths of time, and they were all evenly matched. Knight Sorrow's strength was definitely stronger than Xian Qingyu and the rest. However, he was facing three top geniuses after all. Even he found it difficult to gain an absolute advantage in a short period of time. However, the golden heavenly halberd that had absorbed the eternal silver dragon spear was very capable. In the confrontation with the strange copper hammers, it was not at a disadvantage at all. What surprised Knight Sorrow the most was that the fire beacon smoke diagram he used did not have any effect on the three people in front of him. This was because the moment he took out the fire beacon smoke diagram, the other party threw out a defensive secret treasure. Both sides were completely matched. It seems that if I want to completely injure one of them, I can only use the Eternal Life Amplification Spear. After thinking for a moment, Knight Sorrow decided to use his current strongest killing move, Eternal Life Amplification Spear. However, using this move was very dangerous. Because the consumption was too great, if he could not seriously injure at least one person in one strike, he would definitely fall into a disadvantage. It's not a good idea to continue like this. Eternal Life Amplification Spear. After deciding to use this move, Knight Sorrow found an opportunity to use a Divine Essence Trap array on Xian Qingyu and a Merit Trap array on Sacred Ape. Moreover, he directly used the Eternal Life Amplification Spear on Fun Mie. At present, the strongest person on the other side was Xian Qingyu, but what made Knight Sorrow the most uncomfortable was still Fun Mie's pair of copper hammers. Furthermore, the roar of Sacred Ape during battle could disturb Mu Tianai, who was cultivating. Therefore, without thinking, he locked onto Fun Mie. Not good. After being locked onto by Knight Sorrow's Eternal Life Amplification Spear, Fun Mie felt that something was wrong. He felt that at this moment, his throat was grabbed by the power of destiny, and he instantly lost the ability to resist. It seems that you can't resist the power of destiny. Knight Sorrow suddenly used the golden heavenly halberd to pierce Fun Mie's dantian while he was motionless. Moreover, under the interference of the copper hammers, Fun Mie's divine soul was destroyed. Once Fun Mie died, the pair of copper hammers immediately became ownerless and no longer resisted. Knight Sorrow immediately put the hammer back into his grotto heaven and said, "This hammer is very special, but I don't have time to observe it. You guys study it. This bronze hammer is clearly an ancient artifact. It gives off a sense of vicissitudes from billions of years ago. It's definitely not an ordinary object." After taking a look, Xiao Tianxian made his judgment. I feel it too. However, I feel that this bronze hammer is not as simple as an ordinary divine artifact. It would be a waste to burn it down. See if you can figure out what it does. Knight Sorrow instructed. Everyone could feel that this copper hammer was extraordinary. Since it was not an ordinary item, it was definitely not an ordinary close combat divine weapon. At this time, Wu Lingfei reminded, Knight Sorrow, leave the matter of the hammer to us. Focus on the battle. Good. Now that they've lost Fun Mie, the threat shouldn't be too great. After saying that, Knight Sorrow turned his attention back to Xian Qingyu and Sacred Ape. Seeing that Fun Mie had been killed, Xian Xingyu cursed angrily. Damn it! I was careless just now. I was trapped by a sudden move, or I would have been able to save Fun Mie. Me too. I couldn't react in time. Sacred Ape sighed. Night Sorrow was very glad. If he had not been able to kill Fun Mie with that move, he would have been in an extremely dangerous situation. Brother Qingyu, what should we do now? Sacred Ape asked guiltily. Previously, the three of them were evenly matched with Night Sorrow. Now that there were only two left, there were only two of them left. We'll give up on Night Sorrow and attack Mu Tianai directly. These two hidden dangers, one is better than the other. Xian Xingyu thought for a moment and locked his gaze on Mu Tianai. At this time, Mu Tianai was cultivating and he was ready to launch a sneak attack. All right, in a moment, we will launch a sneak attack on him. If he dares to cultivate in such an environment, he must be overconfident. Sacred Ape replied with telepathy and continued to fight Night Sorrow with Xian Xingyu. Something's not right. After a few rounds, Night Sorrow realized that Xian Xingyu and Sacred Ape's attacks were getting weaker and weaker. He was surprised. He thought that Xian Xingyu and Sacred Ape were plotting something. However, Night Sorrow soon realized that Xian Xingyu and Sacred Ape's real target was Mu Tianai. Night Sorrow did not stop them. Although Mu Tianai did not show any hostility, if they wanted to fight for the championship, they would have to fight. He was not stupid enough to help his enemy and let his enemy break through to a higher cultivation level to deal with him. That was not benevolence. It was stupidity. Xian Xingyu, how dare you? You can't defeat Night Sorrow, so you're trying to provoke me. Mu Tianya's thoughts of advancing to a higher cultivation level were completely disrupted. His face, which was originally emotionless, was now filled with hatred. Xian Xingyu and Sacred Ape immediately showed signs of fear when they saw his cold, killing intent. Sacred Ape was puzzled. Logically speaking, he should have suffered a serious backlash when his cultivation was interrupted. Why can't I see it now? It should be a disguise. I think he's just putting up a strong front. Xian Xingyu said. Now that things had come to this, they had no way out and could only bite the bullet. Otherwise, it would be too embarrassing. The mysterious Mu Tianai is finally going to make a move. After Mu Tianai, Xian Xingyu and Sacred Ape started fighting. Night Sorrow was not the only one who had his eyes locked on them. Even Xiao Tianxian, Wu Lingfei, and the others were watching the battle. Looking at it, everyone's heart sank. Mu Tianya's combat strength was too terrifying. When he fought, he held a paper fan in his hand and easily suppressed the two of them. Do you think that you're my match just because you can't defeat Night Sorrow? Xian Xingyu, the biggest advantage of the Jiuxian territory is that you have more people, not your personal combat strength. You're destined to be useless in this palace, because this place belongs to the strong. After Mu Tianai finished speaking, he completely exploded. His combat strength was not stronger than Night Sorrow's, but Xian Xingyu and Sacred Ape were still unable to resist him. Under such circumstances, the two of them wanted to escape, but the secret treasures they had just used were greatly reduced. In terms of speed, they could not compare to Mu Tianai and were quickly killed by him. After killing Xian Xingyu and Sacred Ape, Mu Tianai smiled and walked to Night Sorrow's side. Although I don't know the rules, the champion will be between you and me. Shall we fight now or fight for the treasures first? Whatever you want, I'll accompany you. Night Sorrow looked at Mu Tianai. At this time, there were only the two of them left. There was nothing else for them to guard against. Clan M. Chapter 3028. I think we should team up for the time being. We'll go back and eliminate everyone else. When it's just the two of us, we'll go all out. This way, we'll at least be able to get into the top two. Mu Tianai looked at Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow did not recover immediately. Mu Tianai sighed and said, Originally, I wanted to advance to the supreme stage and then take down the small pagoda. But now I don't have that hope anymore. I can only focus on fighting for the championship. Brother Yi, don't agree with him. I feel that this Mu Tianai is very strange, but I can't tell what's wrong with him. But he's definitely not as humble as he looks." Hearing Mu Tianya's words, Myriad Sword Sect immediately reminded him. "It's fine. We're not afraid of him." Night Sorrow replied Myriad Sword Sect, then looked at Myriad Sword Sect and said, Okay, we'll attack immediately. Wipe them all out." Mu Tianyi, who withdrew his murderous aura, gave off a refreshing feeling. Night Sorrow felt that the feeling Mu Tianyi gave him was very similar to the feeling he had when he obtained the pair of copper hammers. Both of them had the aura of vicissitudes. If he did not obtain the incinerated copper hammers, he would not have known this. Could it be that this Mu Tianyi came from the fog area? Thinking of this, Night Sorrow could not help but be vigilant. After that, Night Sorrow and Mu Tianyi temporarily joined forces and returned to attack the people of the four territories. Under the cooperation of Night Sorrow and Mu Tianyi, the people of the four territories were finally completely united, but they were still eliminated one after another. After eliminating the people of the four territories, Mu Tianyi glanced at Night Sorrow and said, "We've consumed a lot, but we've also gained a lot. Why don't we start the final battle half a month later?" "No, we can't agree to this." Hearing this, Xiao Tianxian immediately said, asking Night Sorrow to reject it. Myriad Sword Sect agreed with this. "Yes, that's right, we can't agree to this. If he advances to the supreme stage in half a month, we'll be in danger. This is the same as releasing a tiger back into the mountains." At this time, Wu Lingfei suddenly said, "Agree." However, both sides had to agree that they would not fight for half a month. Make him swear an oath. There's nothing wrong with your character, but he doesn't know if you'll go back on your word. "Oh, you said that, didn't you?" Xiao Tianxian asked in puzzlement after Wu Lingfei finished speaking. Wu Lingfei continued, "I've discovered the hammer's secret. We can help Night Sorrow seize the tower, as long as he could get his hands on that earthly, sovereign-level pagoda. So what if he can become a supreme being?" "Are you that confident?" Xiao Tianxian asked doubtfully. "It shouldn't be a problem." Wu Lingfei nodded. The true name of this pair of hammers should be restriction-breaking hammers. When it was in perfect condition, it could break through all earthly sovereign seals. Although I've already suffered heavy injuries, I can still break through all the restrictions below the earthly supreme level. I see. If the hammers can break through the restrictions, then getting close to the small pagoda will be very easy. Master Wang Jian was also excited, but then he said, "But every artifact here has to go through a battle before it can be subdued. Although Brother Yi is a genius, how can he be a match for the small pagoda's artifact spirit? That small pagoda doesn't have an artifact spirit." Wu Lingfei explained. "This is what the artifact spirit of the hammers saw. Now, one of the hammers has already recognized me as its master." With Wu Lingfei's explanation, everyone suddenly understood. Originally, the hammers were divided into male and female. Now, the female hammer had already recognized her as its master. The male hammer was waiting for Night Sorrow. So this pair of hammers has such an ability. Hearing them talking about Night Sorrow, he thought for a moment and felt that he should choose to agree with Mu Tianyi. So he said, "You and I swear an oath to the heavenly Tao that we won't fight for half a month." "Good. That's exactly what I want." Mu Tianyi smiled and happily swore an oath to the heavenly Tao. Then he turned around and left, not caring at all whether Night Sorrow swore an oath or not. This Mu Tianyi seems to think that he has taken advantage of us. After seeing Mu Tianyi turn around and leave, he increased the distance between them and began to cultivate again. Obviously, he wanted to break through to the supremacy stage again. When he entered the state of cultivation, Master Wang Jian laughed. "Ignore him, let's go get the small pagoda." After Night Sorrow finished speaking, he communicated with the male hammers and asked them to recognize him as their master. After the hammers recognized him as their master, Night Sorrow completely understood their history. It turned out that this pair of hammers really did come from the fog area. However, they were damaged and did not have a deep memory of the fog area. He did not get much useful information from them. He only knew that the fog area was very dangerous, and there were all kinds of powerful existences. It really can break through the restrictions. Then, Night Sorrow summoned the hammers. Sure enough, they could continuously break through the restrictions. They broke the restrictions, binding him bit by bit. Soon, they arrived at the 90,000-meter mark. After arriving at this position, Night Sorrow turned around and looked at Mu Tianyi. He found that Mu Tianyi's aura had completely soared to the sky. This was the sign of a breakthrough. Therefore, Night Sorrow asked the male hammers, "That person's aura, did he also come from the fog area? Can you see through his depth? That person should be the reincarnation of an expert. If no one disturbs him, he will definitely break through to the supremacy stage." The male hammers replied and continued, "Why don't you attack him now and sneak up on him? You can definitely defeat him in one fell swoop." "I've already sworn an oath to not attack him for half a month." Night Sorrow shook his head and said, "Let's continue forward." He knew that any earthly supremacy divine artifact was extremely extraordinary. If he could get the small pagoda, he would definitely be able to fight Mu Tianyi. This Mu Tianyi was very special. He was the first evenly matched opponent Night Sorrow had encountered in the same realm. The restriction-breaking hammer is really powerful. After Yishang finished speaking, the restriction-breaking hammer continued to attack, bringing him to a position of 100,000 meters. He was only 8,000 meters away from the small pagoda. The Myriad Sword sect could not help but praise. "Oomph, this is nothing. When we were at our peak, we could even break the seals of earthly supremacies." Hearing this, the male hammers said disdainfully and continued to break the seals. At this time, Moonfeather Earthly Supremacy, who was watching from the sidelines, could not help but frown. "I didn't expect Night Sorrow to be able to survive until now. If this continues, the Earthly Supremacy Divine Artifact will definitely be taken by him." Feng Wuji shook his head and said, "An Earthly Supremacy Divine Artifact will not be so easily controlled by an overlord. Even if it does not have an artifact spirit, it will not be so easily subdued." As for the other supremacies present, they did not look too good. This was especially so for the supremacy from the Burning Sky territory. When he saw the restriction-breaking hammer's ability, he was so angry that his face turned red. If they had known earlier that the restriction-breaking hammer was so powerful in breaking seals, they would not have handed it over to Fan Mie. Clan M. Chapter 3029. No matter what, Night Sorrow has shown that he is not inferior to the Supreme Longevity. When he comes out, I will definitely kill him. Moonfeather, Earthly Sovereign, looked at Yishang with a cold expression. On the surface, he did not want Night Sorrow to obtain the replica of the Eternal Divine Tower. However, he was already looking forward to it. This was because he felt that there was no difference between him and Night Sorrow obtaining it. Everyone present was well aware of this matter, but no one dared to say it out loud. Feng Wuji was not in the mood to do so. Then, under everyone's gaze, Night Sorrow relied on the restriction-breaking hammer and approached the small tower step by step. When he was close enough, he took a deep breath and summoned the small tower. There is no response. I can confirm that there is no artifact spirit. After saying that, Yishang decided to take action and take the small pagoda. Wu Lingfei reminded him, "Be careful. The earthly sovereign artifact is definitely not that simple." "Don't worry," Night Sorrow replied. At this time, Xiao Tianxian also explained the earthly sovereign divine artifact is extraordinary. He tried to communicate with it again. If there was no response. If there is no response, you can just take it. "All right, I will be careful. I will try again. If it doesn't work, I will take action." Night Sorrow replied and tried to communicate with the small tower again. He still did not get anything. He used his power of merit and tried to wrap it around the small tower, but there was still no response. Since there is no response, I can only take it by force. According to everyone's reminder, Night Sorrow had already done what he needed. However, there was still no response from the small tower. Night Sorrow wanted to take it into his space. Buzz. However, after Night Sorrow made his move, he was met with a huge echo. The small tower did not move at all. "I will try to get closer," Yishang said and walked towards Lil Pagoda. Although the replica of the Eternal Divine Tower was without an owner, it had its own defense. After getting closer, Night Sorrow immediately felt its oppressive power. That kind of suppression came from the Earth's sovereign level, and Night Sorrow had more or less absorbed some of it. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't be able to withstand it. At this moment, he had activated the 33 Heavens Battle secret technique, the Phoenix Battle Armor, and the Power of Virtue. With these, he was able to slowly approach the small pagoda. After getting closer, Night Sorrow gently touched the small tower with his fingertips. Boom! Just as Night Sorrow's fingertips touched Small Pagoda immediately retaliated. It sent Night Sorrow flying. The tremors were so severe that even the people in the God World's paradise were shaken to the core. Even though Night Sorrow's body was made of copper and iron, he was still shaken to the point that several of his bones were fractured. After swallowing a few recovery pills, Night Sorrow said, "This small pagoda shouldn't be so easy to conquer. I'm going to try and see if I can make it recognize me as its master by dripping my blood on it." Good. At this point, we can only try our best. The knowledge of the people in the God world was not outstanding at all in the eternal supreme world. No one could give Night Sorrow any useful advice. After he spoke, Master One Jian agreed. "I'll give it a try now." After making up his mind, without any hesitation, he took out some blood from his fingertips and dripped it on Small Pagoda. However, a moment later, these few drops of blood were spat out by the small tower. Obviously, this imitation of the eternal divine pagoda rejected his blood very much. Blood won't work either. How should I do it? Night Sorrow glanced at Mu Tianai and found that Mu Tianya's aura was getting stronger and stronger. He was not far away from the Earth's sovereign level. He said anxiously, no matter what, he wanted to defeat all his opponents and bring back the championship for the God world. However, if Mu Tianai successfully broke through and he didn't make any contributions, he would be no match for him even if he fought to the death. This Mu Tianai in front of him was obviously not ordinary. He killed Xian Xingyu and the Holy Ape as if they were toys. Even if he didn't break through, he would still be difficult to deal with. Breaking through to the Earth's sovereign level was like leaping through the Dragon's Gate. His strength would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. At this moment, Xiong Chue suddenly said, "Master, your method is not very reliable." "Oh, do you know other ways to make a divine artifact recognize you as its master?" The forbidden copper hammer used to be an earthly, sovereign divine artifact. Although it was severely damaged, causing the artifact's spirit to lose some of its memories, Xiong Chue knew more about it. When it came to making a divine artifact recognize its master, it knew more than Night Sorrow. When he heard this, he immediately asked with anticipation, "Yes, according to my senses, this earthly, sovereign divine artifact didn't come from the foggy area. However, it's an imitation of a divine artifact in the foggy area." Xiong Chue said and continued, "I remember that there is only one way to make a divine artifact recognize you as its master in the foggy area. That is to match your fate." "Match your fate? What do you mean?" Hearing this, Night Sorrow was puzzled. The others in the God world had no idea what Xiong Chue was talking about. Match your fate is the only way to make a divine artifact recognize you as its master in the foggy area. Xiong Chue continued, "Oh, do you know how to match your fate?" Night Sorrow asked expectantly. "I know. However, if you want me to hand it over to you, I have a condition," Xiong Chue said with some embarrassment. Hearing this, Night Sorrow smiled and said, "If you have any conditions, just tell me. If I can fulfill them, I will try my best to fulfill them." "Okay, then I'll say it. Actually, we let you and Wu Lingfei recognize you as its master so that one day we can completely recover. I hope that in the future, if you get any earthly sovereign level materials, you will give them to us first." Let's return to our peak. The male hammer of the restriction-breaking hammer slowly stated his request. I agree to this condition. Before you recover to the level of earthly sovereign, I will give you priority to devour any materials that I get. Hearing the other party's request, Yishan agreed without hesitation. This was because such a request was nothing. Good. Then I will immediately teach you the method of matching your fate. After receiving Yishan's affirmation, the weapon spirit of the male hammer was extremely excited. It immediately transmitted the method of matching birth charts to Yishan. So that's how it is. After learning the secret method, Night Sorrow immediately understood. It turned out that matching fate was basically the same as the literal meaning. It was to let Night Sorrow provide his fate to the small tower. If his fate or future could meet the potential requirements of the small tower, it would be able to recognize him as its master. If his fate was not as good as the small tower and did not meet its requirements, then there was no way to make it recognize him as its master. Everyone, I have mastered the secret method. Now, I will try it one last time. This time, I will either succeed or die trying. After saying this, Night Sorrow began to use the fate matching technique on the small tower. Clan M. Chapter 30:30. When Night Sorrow used the fate matching technique, Small Pagoda shook violently. However, it did not continue to attack Night Sorrow or shake him away. At this moment, Night Sorrow felt as if his mind and Small Pagoda were one. His past was quickly read by Small Pagoda, and Small Pagoda also read Night Sorrow's mysterious fate. I wonder if it will succeed. Small Pagoda kept shaking, and Wu Lingfei, who was in the space grotto heaven, said worriedly, if Night Sorrow's fate can suppress Small Pagoda's fate, he should be able to smoothly make it recognize him as its master. Master, don't worry. The female hammer immediately comforted her. At this moment, Wu Lingfei looked at the restriction-breaking bronze hammer in her hand and asked, what exactly is a fate? The female hammer immediately explained, fate is also called a fate chart. It is a map of the positions of the stars in the void when a person is born. From this, we can infer a trace of this person's luck and future achievements. Night Sorrow showed his fate to the pagoda in front of him, basically to let the pagoda see his fate, or whether he is a person with great luck. So that's how it is. Then can you see some things in the future from my fate? Wu Lingfei asked curiously. The female hammer denied. I can only see the general pattern. I can't see any details. So that's how it is. Wu Lingfei nodded and once again paid attention to Night Sorrow, secretly praying in her heart. At this moment, Night Sorrow was the same as Small Pagoda, clearly seeing his fate at the same time. However, he could not understand it at all. All he could see was the boundless sea of stars. However, Night Sorrow did not care, because what he cared about was the hard work of the day after tomorrow, and not the arrangement of the heavens. You are a person with great luck. I agree to recognize you as my master, but there is a condition that you need to agree to. Just as Night Sorrow was thinking about his fate, he suddenly heard a voice transmission in his mind. He said uncertainly, you are Small Pagoda? I am not called Small Pagoda, nor am I an imitation of the Eternal Divine Tower. It is the real Eternal Divine Tower. To be exact, it is 1/9 of the Eternal Divine Tower. It's the 7th floor. The 7th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower spoke to Night Sorrow before continuing, I agree to recognize you as my master, but you have to promise me that you'll help me gather the other parts of the tower. The other parts of the pagoda are also of the earthly sovereign level. With my current strength, it should be very difficult for me to do so. However, if you believe me, I will definitely do it for you in the future. Night Sorrow knew that the Eternal Divine Tower was a legendary divine artifact. Gathering all of it would be extremely difficult. I don't know what happened to the other parts of the tower. However, I can sense that they are not in this eternal sovereign realm. The 7th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower continued. Is it the artifact spirit or the pagoda body that's communicating with me? How should I address you? Night Sorrow couldn't sense the artifact spirit on the 7th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower, so he wasn't sure what it was that was communicating with him. I am on the 7th floor of the Eternal Divine Tower. You could just call me Little 7. The Eternal Divine Tower doesn't have an artifact spirit, but it has a consciousness. Good. From now on, I will call you Little 7. After letting Little 7 recognize him as its master, Night Sorrow said this and then asked, Little 7, what abilities do you have? I can use it for battle, cultivation, and also to rapidly increase my strength. The complete body of the Eternal Divine Tower contains the great Tao of heaven and earth. It is a supreme divine artifact. My great Tao is incomplete, but if you cultivate in it, you will still gain a lot. Little 7 said proudly. Hearing this, Night Sorrow immediately asked, What about battle? You'll slowly get to know my combat abilities. At least for now, some of my abilities are far superior to yours. Little 7 said confidently. After saying this, it laughed to itself. I have been silent for countless years. Now that I am able to communicate with someone, this feeling is really not bad. What is your relationship with Yin Hengshi? You should have a certain relationship with him since you are here, right? Night Sorrow thought of Yin Hengshi, who he had encountered before, and immediately asked. Yin Hengshi's original body was one of the first few lives in the Eternal Supreme World. He was also one of the people who established the battle for providence. The essence of this battle for providence is not to let people fight for providence. It is to find geniuses. However, all these years, Yin Hengshi's original body has already fallen. He also did not find the inheritor he was looking for. Xiaoqi explained and continued. As for my relationship with him, it's not that simple. It is because he brought me out of the fog by chance back then, and I promised to do something for him. Now, it has already passed the time limit. What was Yin Hengshi's strength at his peak? Everyone said that supreme longevity was the first Earth sovereign in the Eternal Supreme World. Why do I feel that Yin Hengshi was even stronger? Night Sorrow continued to ask in confusion. Little 7's words made him think of a lot. I'm not sure about this matter, but it is definitely not inferior to an Earth sovereign. After all, Yin Hengshi and the others are the ancestors of everyone in the Eternal Supreme World. Little 7 said very humanely. Okay, we will talk about these things later. Little 7, cooperate with us to solve the problem in front of us first. At this time, Night Sorrow still wanted to ask some other things, but he felt that Mu Tianai had already changed. He immediately fixed his gaze on him. At this time, Mu Tianai was fighting with the Supreme World, and he had successfully suppressed the Supreme Tribulation Body and was about to advance to the Supreme Stage. Brother Yi, now is a good opportunity. If you kill him directly, our Heavenly Realm territory will be the final champion. Seeing that Mu Tianai was about to become a Supreme Stage and his strength would increase rapidly, Master Wan Jian immediately said anxiously. At this time, he still did not know that Night Sorrow had successfully made Small Tower recognize him as its master, and was a little flustered. Night Sorrow smiled and said, We desire to be the champion, but there is no need to use a sneak attack to win. Let's wait until he advances to the Supreme Stage. After saying this, Night Sorrow summoned Little 7 to his hand and held it while waiting for Mu Tianai to advance. I have finally recovered to the Supreme Stage. About 7 days later, Mu Tianai suddenly looked up at the sky and roared. Then, he floated in the void and looked at Night Sorrow and said, Night Sorrow, you did something wrong. You should not have given me so much time. If you had attacked me before I started cultivating, our strength would have been on par. But now, you're no longer my opponent. If you had observed carefully, you would not have said that. Don't think that only your strength has increased. Night Sorrow could not help but praise Mu Tianya's powerful aura. He had just advanced to the Supreme Stage. He gave people the feeling that he was at the peak of the Supreme Stage, and could be said to be incomparably powerful. Just like Night Sorrow, he was a peerless genius who could fight across realms. However, even though Yi Shang was weaker than him, he wasn't afraid at all, because Little 7 would cooperate with him in the battle. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3031. What? You've obtained a replica of the Eternal Divine Tower. Looking at the small tower in Knight Sorrow's hand and the empty space in the distance, Muti and I came to a realization. After thinking it through, his pupils shrank, and he said in disbelief, "This is impossible. This is absolutely impossible. How can you have the strength to obtain it? Nothing is impossible. The replica of the Eternal Divine Tower in my hand is at the level of an earthly sovereign. Are you prepared to fight?" Knight Sorrow looked at Muti and I and said slowly. Mutianya's body was emitting a strong fighting spirit. After becoming a sovereign, he no longer hid anything. He looked like he was ready to kill everyone. Knight Sorrow, if you still have some courage, don't use external forces and let's have a fair fight. Relying on an earthly sovereign artifact to crush your opponent is not your own ability. That's too shameful. Muti and I snorted after thinking for a while. Although he had just become a supreme being and had displayed great strength, it was impossible for him to suppress an earthly supreme being artifact. Huh. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow laughed and said, "I've already given you a chance to become a sovereign. This is already a great courage. Moreover, to do a good job, one must first sharpen his tools. To be able to make an earthly sovereign artifact recognize me as its master is also my ability. What's so shameful about that?" You. For a moment, Muti and I was speechless. At this time, Little Seven sent a voice transmission to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow, the person in front of you is very special. His soul should be about the same age as Yin Hengshi. They should be from the same era. His combat strength is far superior to those of the same level. Can you tell if he's from the Eternal Sovereign Realm? Knight Sorrow immediately asked after hearing Little Seven's words. Obviously not. He should be from the fog area. There's a high probability that he's an evil person. Little Seven glanced at Muti and I and immediately made his judgment. Oh, why is there a high chance that he's an evil person? Knight Sorrow asked in confusion. The fog in the fog area is very poisonous. After cultivating for a long time, one would naturally lose their conscience and become someone who only knew how to kill. The level of evil is much more terrifying than you can imagine. Let's put it this way. If even 1% of the creatures in the fog come out, your eternal supreme realm will be slaughtered directly. Little Seven said with certainty. What? Is the foggy area really that terrifying? Knight Sorrow was confused when he heard Little Seven's words. Based on Evil Sword Earthly Sovereign's words, one could tell that the Supreme Longevity Earthly Sovereign had found a way to become an Earthly Sovereign in the Fog region. Evil Sword Earthly Sovereign had also made some achievements there. He could tell that Supreme Longevity was not an evil person, but he could not be sure about Evil Sword Earthly Sovereign. Hence, he immediately ordered, Little Seven, help me check on Evil Sword Earthly Sovereign and see if his aura in the fog area is dense. After saying that, Knight Sorrow took out Evil Sword. Little Seven checked it and said, "It's far from it. If I'm not wrong, this sword has only entered the foggy area once. It left when it was less than 100 meters in. There's not much of the aura of the fog on it." Then I'm relieved, Knight Sorrow said. Then he realized something. He immediately asked, "You said that you were grateful to Yin Heng for bringing you out of the fog area. Then, are the other parts of the Eternal Divine Tower scattered in the fog area? If I'm not wrong, most of them are in there. They should have been completely corrupted by the fog. Hence, it's not easy to reconstruct the Eternal Divine Tower." Little Seven sighed like a human. We'll talk about this later. Knight Sorrow had a lot of things to sort out in his mind. However, Muti and I was still in front of him. Naturally, he would not let his imagination run wild. Instead, he looked at Muti and I and said, "Who are you? Or should I say, what are you?" Haha, did the replica of the Eternal Divine Tower say something to you? Hearing Knight Sorrow's words, Muti and I was stunned for a moment. Then he said, "That's right. I came from the fog area. However, you don't have a right to know what I am. Is that so? Since I don't have the right to know, I'll find out from your memories after I kill you." Night Sorrow originally wanted to let Muti and I go. However, now that he had confirmed that he was a life form from the fog area, he naturally would not let him go and let him start a massacre in the eternal divine world. After saying that, he directly used the 33 Heavens Battle secret technique. Holding the evolved golden heavenly halberd in his hand, he directly attacked Muti and I. Eternal Life Amplification Spear. This move was as powerful as ever. However, Muti and I said disdainfully, "If I was at my peak strength, I would have been able to kill you. A single strand of hair could kill you. Even a replica of the Eternal Divine Tower in your hands is nothing." Muti and I did not know that Little Seven was a part of the Eternal Divine Tower. With a roar, he completely unleashed the fog aura on his body. For a moment, the surrounding world was completely shrouded in fog. Night Sorrow's Eternal Life Amplification Spear, which had always worked, did not paralyze Muti and I. So this is the fog aura? It's indeed a crazy, killing aura. Night Sorrow, who had wrapped himself in the power of virtue, found that the power of virtue had a very good resistance against the fog aura. He used his divine soul to investigate and found that the fog aura was indeed bloodthirsty and evil, making him feel very uncomfortable. What do you know? This is the purest source of power. Muti and I roared and controlled the fog aura to attack Night Sorrow again. He felt that as long as he could quickly control Night Sorrow, it would be equivalent to controlling Night Sorrow. Even if Night Sorrow had an earthly sovereign divine weapon, he would not be a threat to him. You're thinking too much. You want to control me? Impossible. Night Sorrow, who was using the power of virtue to resist the fog aura, roared and ordered, "Little Seven, do it. Show me your strength." Don't worry. Although he used to be powerful, he's not a threat now. Facing Muti and I, who had just become an earthly sovereign, Little Seven smiled. Like a heavy sword without a sharp edge, he enlarged the tower and smashed it directly. Not good. How can Night Sorrow resist the fog aura? Muti and I, who did not expect Night Sorrow to be able to resist the fog aura so easily, immediately cried out when he saw Little Seven coming at him. Although he was very strong, he was not strong enough to fight against Little Seven, who was an earthly sovereign, whether it was in terms of speed or loss. At this moment, Muti and I could not dodge, even if he wanted to. He was smashed by Little Seven. After being hit, Muti and I was immediately severely injured. At this moment, Little Seven transmitted his voice to Night Sorrow. "I just told you that I can use it to cultivate, to fight, and to increase your strength quickly. Now, I'll show you how to increase your strength quickly." Clan M. Chapter 3032. Great, Little Seven. I'll wait and see. Night Sorrow said excitedly after hearing Little Seven's words. "I can turn everything in time into the purest rules and essence. For example, this Muti and I in front of us." Little Seven sent a telepathic message and controlled the tower to smash out again. This time, although Muti and I used all his strength, he was still hit. Although Little Seven was only on the 7th level of the Eternal Divine Tower, it had the power of an earthly sovereign and could easily deal with him. Damn it, Muti and I, am always lacking in luck. Am I going to be reincarnated again? No, where there's life, there's hope. I'll just give up. Being suppressed by Little Seven, Muti and I roared in his heart. He knew that the Eternal Divine Tower was going to absorb him and turn him into rules and essence. After struggling for a while, he decided to give up and used his doppelganger hidden in the void to crush the nameplate. He gave up on this battle for Providence. Although it was his doppelganger who crushed the nameplate, his real body was also teleported out. He used a secret technique to escape. Little Seven, who originally wanted to suppress Muti and I and turn him into rules and essence, to give to Knight's sorrow didn't stop him. He didn't notice the doppelganger hidden in the void while guarding against Mu Tianye's real body. Therefore, he didn't stop him. He used his doppelganger to crush the nameplate. A cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. It's normal that we can't guard against him. Yishang comforted little Seven before he continued. However, we must find out who he is in the future. We can't let him bring disaster to the eternal sovereign world. Yes, every creature in the foggy area that appears in the eternal sovereign world needs to be destroyed as soon as possible. Otherwise, he can cause a lot of chaos. Little Seven said solemnly. Even for a divine artifact of the earthly sovereign level, the foggy area was a terrifying place to be. Yes, we have to find a way to deal with him. But Mu Tianyi is hiding in the strongest territory, Tianshao territory. He will definitely be protected. With our strength, it's very difficult to deal with him. Knight Sorrow nodded and said in a serious tone, the Heavenly Owl territory has always been one of the 4 great holy lands in the eternal supreme world. This is indeed a difficult task. Little Seven agreed, then continued. But now that you've suppressed him once, you've already won. In the future, he would definitely suppress it. This was luck. You just need to focus on increasing your strength. Speaking of increasing your strength, you have an opportunity right in front of you. After all, you are already the champion of this year's Battle of Providence. That's right. Our territory in the God Realm is the champion. It was impossible for Knight Sorrow to not be happy about leading the Celestial Realm to the championship, but he was still affected by Mu Tianye's incident. He didn't show too much excitement. As for the 10,000 Sword sect, that was a completely different story. He excitedly transmitted his voice to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow, our heavenly realm has won the championship. Is this for real? Am I dreaming? Before participating in the Battle of Providence, the 10,000 Swords sect thought that it would be good enough if the Celestial Realm could win the 1,000th place. They didn't expect that under the leadership of Knight Sorrow, they would climb to the top step by step. He felt that he could die at night if he heard the truth in the morning. Even if he died now, it would be worth it. It's real. All of this is real. We can drink and celebrate. Xiao Tianxian, who had always been mature, also laughed heartily. It was the first time that the Celestial Realm had won the championship. As a participant, how could he not be excited? It's worth it. At this moment, I feel that everything I've done is worth it. Yuan Fengshue's eyes were red, and she said with tears in her eyes, in order to become the champion this time, Knight Sorrow and everyone else had sacrificed too much. To cultivators, not being able to use their divine essence force and divine soul power for 30,000 years was even greater than the destruction of their divine soul. At this moment, Knight Sorrow said, thank you all for your efforts along the way. It's you who led us to glory. Without you, it would be difficult for us to enter the top 1,000. Morong Zhenlu said with emotion. Like the 10,000 Sword sect, he still felt that everything was a dream. While they were celebrating, only Feng Wuji looked uncomfortable. There was even a hint of a playful smile on his face. Everyone else's faces were dark. They still couldn't accept that the Celestial Realm had won the championship. At first, Moon Feather Earthly Supremacy's face had darkened. However, after thinking about it for a bit, he smiled. He said, I wonder what kind of reward this Yi Chong can get for me. In his heart, Knight Sorrow was already a fish on the chopping board. He was ready to kill Knight Sorrow and take the treasure. At this moment, the scene that they had been watching suddenly stopped. Lunar Feather Earth Sovereign frowned and said, what's going on? Lunar Feather Earth Sovereign, this might be Knight Sorrow from the Celestial Realm receiving the special reward for being the champion. The scene inside is covered by something. Dao Wui on the side speculated. In fact, after Yin Hengshi's shadow appeared, Little Seven helped Knight Sorrow cover everything. After all, it was the core of the competition field. Congratulations to all of you for reaching the end and becoming the final champion. After Yin Hengshi's shadow appeared, he congratulated Knight Sorrow with a smile. Senior. Knight Sorrow summoned the others from the Celestial Realm. Everyone called out to him together and didn't say anything. Good, good. Every one of you is very righteous. A group of good seedlings has appeared in the celestial realm. In the future, they will definitely stir up the stagnant pool of the eternal supreme world. They will change the situation. Yin Hengshi glanced at everyone and praised. Senior, you flatter me. Night Sorrow immediately said humbly. The others all smiled bitterly. Now, they couldn't even use their divine origin energy and divine soul power. How could they stir up the situation? At this time, Yin Hengshi smiled and said, Don't be discouraged. Even if you lose your divine origin energy and divine soul power, as long as your original heart doesn't change, you will recover one day. Flowers have a day to bloom again. So do you. Thank you for your comfort, Senior. Xiao Tianxian cupped his fists and bowed to Yin Hengshi. The others from the Myriad Sword sect also said some words of gratitude. At this time, Yin Hengshi continued. After the pleasantries, it's time to get to the point. I have two things to say. One is a good thing, the other is a bad thing. Which one do you want to hear first? Let's taste bitter first. Let's listen to the bad one first. After everyone in the celestial realm discussed for a while, Night Sorrow said. The others looked at Yin Hengshi with a solemn expression. Good. Yin Hengshi said a good thing and then sighed softly. He looked at Night Sorrow and said, The bad thing is that you used the external force of the eternal divine tower in the final battle and weren't chosen as the inheritor. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3033. I wasn't chosen as the inheritor? That's nothing. After all, I already have my own Tao. After listening to Yin Hengshi's phantom, Night Sorrow felt that this matter was nothing. It was not a bad thing. This is just part of this matter. Then, Yin Hengshi's phantom continued. The other thing is according to my original plan. The great calamity of the eternal supreme world that occurs once in a billion years is about to come again. Without the inheritance of my original body, it will be difficult for you to resist it. Since Senior knows that without your inheritance, we can't resist the great calamity, why do you have to leave the inheritance? Night Sorrow was puzzled. He felt that Yin Hengshi's words were very contradictory. Alas, my original body's inheritance is the rule set by my original body. The rule is dead. If you don't meet the conditions, he won't pass it down. I can't control this matter. Speaking of which, I'm just a housekeeper. Yin Hengshi's phantom said helplessly. In his opinion, Night Sorrow was the most suitable successor, but there was a rule in advance. Night Sorrow couldn't get the inheritance. As for the others in the territory of the Divine Realm, they were even less qualified to get it. Maybe it's time and fate. Since we can't get it, in the face of the great calamity that Senior mentioned, we can only think of a way ourselves. Night Sorrow said, and then asked doubtfully, As for what kind of calamity it is, I hope Senior can tell me. I don't know what it is exactly, but it must be related to the fog area. Only the creatures in the fog area can threaten the life and death of the eternal supreme world. Yin Hengshi's phantom speculated. Senior, may I ask where the other seniors who appeared in your era are now? Are they still alive? Thinking of the birth of Yin Hengshi, Night Sorrow asked curiously. He didn't seem to be the only life that appeared at that time. I don't know where I came from and how I became sentient, but I know that there were a total of 5 lives at that time. Yin Hengshi recalled for a moment and continued. 2 of them have been staying and guarding the eternal supreme world. They are me and Yin. As for the other 3, they all entered the fog area and completely became bloodthirsty demons. The fall of my original body and Yan's sleep are directly related to them. Back then, a great battle took place between us. So something like this had happened before. Did the 3 existences in the foggy area perish back then? Night Sorrow asked. Sigh. If I remember correctly, although they were all heavily injured back then, none of them died. Perhaps he had already recovered after all these years. Who knows when they will make a comeback? Yin Hengshi's shadow said helplessly, This is indeed a bad thing. Senior, May I ask what the strength of those three existences are? Earth Sovereign? Upon hearing this, Knight Sorrow's heart was instantly covered with a layer of shadow. He was worried that the darkened ancient existences would launch an attack on the eternal sovereign realm. Their strength is above the level of an earthly sovereign. When my original body was alive, there was no such thing as how one's realm was calculated. They simply called it the extreme realm. It meant the limit of the supreme being level. However, none of them have surpassed the level of supremacy. Yin Hengshi's shadow said slowly, "Is it equivalent to being one level higher than an Earth Sovereign? Now that there are so many Earth Sovereigns in the Eternal Sovereign Realm, they might be able to resist." Before Night Sorrow could speak, Wan Jianzong said in relief. At this time, Yin Hengshi's shadow continued. "It seems that above the Earth Sovereign, there is a Heavenly Sovereign, and then the Supreme Extreme Realm." Hearing this, Wan Jianzong was immediately speechless. While Wan Jianzong was speechless, Yin Hengshi continued, "The three of them have several heavenly sovereigns under them. Send any one of them, and no one in the eternal sovereign realm can resist them. Speaking of which, the cultivators of the eternal sovereign realm in front of us are only born after this realm was cut off. In the battle back then, we lost miserably. All the experts were destroyed. Therefore, many people think that supreme longevity is the first Earth sovereign of the eternal sovereign realm." What? So that's how it is? When Yin Hengshi said this, Night Sorrow and the rest of the people in the heavenly realm all shuddered. The truth in front of them was much crueler than they had imagined. The difference in strength between the eternal sovereign realm and the creatures in the fog was like heaven and earth. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow, who had a headache, asked doubtfully, "Senior, then there's nothing we can do but wait to be harvested?" The last hope of the eternal Paragon realm is Yin, who is in deep slumber. As long as she can wake up, there is still a glimmer of hope for the eternal sovereign realm. In addition, it depends on your efforts. Yin Hengshi was very helpless. In the battle back then, his original body had been killed. Now, he wanted to help, but he didn't have the ability to do so. Where can we find Senior Yin? The eternal sovereign realm's greatest reliance at the moment was the supreme extreme realm's Yin. Night Sorrow asked for her location. Hearing this, Yin Hengshi's shadow smiled and said, "Even those three can't find her. Naturally, we can't find her. But I believe that when the eternal sovereign realm is in a life-and-death situation, she will definitely appear." All right, it seems that before that, we can only rely on our own efforts. Night Sorrow nodded and secretly made up his mind to quickly improve his strength. Strive to advance to the supreme realm as soon as possible, and then strive to become an Earth Supreme. He felt that as long as he kept improving his strength, there would always be a glimmer of hope. Okay, that's all for the bad news. Next, we should talk about the good news. The good news is that although you haven't opened the inheritance, you have received additional rewards. That is to say, in addition to the normal rewards you receive in the square after the battle. Right now, I can give you other rewards. Yin Hengshi saw that the atmosphere was a little depressed and opened his mouth to talk about the rewards. What kind of reward can we get? Hearing Yin Hengshi's words, Night Sorrow immediately asked. At present, he and everyone in the Eternal Sovereign Realm needed to quickly improve their strength. You have two options. First, Night Sorrow, you advance to the Supreme Realm and reach the half-step Earth Supreme Realm. Second, all of them recover and reach the peak of the Sovereign Realm, which is the half-step Supreme Realm. Yin Hengshi said slowly, "This is really a good thing. I choose to let all of them recover." Night Sorrow didn't hesitate and immediately made his choice. Hearing this, Xiao Tianxian immediately said, "No, we choose to let Night Sorrow advance to the half-step Earth Supreme Realm." Night Sorrow, don't refuse. Letting you become an Earth Supreme is a good thing for both the realm of the gods and the Eternal Sovereign Realm. Genius remembered this site's address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3034. That's right, Brother Yi. Just agree to it. I feel that one day we will have to rely on you to resist those terrifying creatures in the fog. Your strength increasing quickly is a good thing for everyone. Thousand Sword Sect also spoke up. That's right, Knight Sorrow, you are the hope of all of us. Accept Senior Yin Hengshi's reward. Murong Zizhu also felt that it was more appropriate for Knight Sorrow to accept this reward. Wu Lingfei did not speak, but her thoughts were the same as Xiao Tianxian, Thousand Sword Sect, and others. However, because she was too close to Knight Sorrow, it was not appropriate for her to say this, so she did not speak. Subsequently, the rest of the people in the heavenly realm all spoke up and agreed with Xiao Tianxian. Since so many people agreed to leave the reward to Knight Sorrow, then I will help him advance his strength. After so many people expressed their opinions, Yin Hengshi immediately made a decision. However, at this time, Knight Sorrow said with a serious expression, "Everyone, I hope you can understand one thing. That is, I, Knight Sorrow, have my own Tao. My Tao is to rise in battle, not to accept gifts like this. If I accept this gift, I'm afraid my Tao heart will be unstable. You guys should recover in peace. Senior, help them recover. Knight Sorrow is extremely grateful. In the future, I will wholeheartedly protect the safety of the Eternal Supreme Realm." Hee, since you have said so much, then I know what to do. This time, Yin Hengshi's shadow did not continue to say anything, and directly summoned endless energy from this small world. After this energy appeared, it was divided into equal portions and entered the bodies of Xiao Tianxian and the 10,000 Swords sect members. Not long after, they were completely recovered, and their strength was all promoted to Half-Step Supreme, the same realm as Knight Sorrow. Hee, how do you guys feel? Seeing that everyone in the heavenly realm had recovered, Knight Sorrow asked with concern. We have recovered. Not only have we completely recovered, but our strength has also increased. Thousand Sword Sect, who was originally Half-Step Supreme, said. Even for him, his strength had increased. As for the others, there was no need to even mention them. Wu Lingfei and the others had seen a qualitative increase in their strength. Very good. Not only had everyone recovered their strength, but they had also improved to a certain extent. I didn't win the championship for nothing. Knight Sorrow said with relief when he saw that everyone had recovered. At this time, the chaotic heavenly crystal beast said speechlessly, I also contributed, but I didn't get anything. When we get out of here, I'll share some of the rewards with you. Knight Sorrow said speechlessly. Hearing this, the originally restless chaotic heavenly crystal beast felt a little better. At this time, Yin Hengshi's shadow looked fainter and fainter. He looked at Knight Sorrow and said, if nothing unexpected happens, this will be the last battle for Providence, because I can't hold on any longer. Soon, everything here, including the inheritance of my original body, was transported to the boundless void and began to drift endlessly. Whoever is fated to see will have the opportunity. Senior, hearing this, Knight Sorrow immediately understood that Yin Hengshi's shadow was about to disappear. He was a little sad. I'm about to dissipate, and this place will soon fall. Everyone take care. By the way, including my other shadows, if anyone tells you that they will establish an organization to protect the Eternal Supreme Realm, don't believe them. If you want to protect the Eternal Supreme Realm, you can only rely on the efforts of everyone in the Eternal Supreme Realm. Yin Hengshi said again when he was about to dissipate. Yes, Knight Sorrow has learned. Knight Sorrow moved towards Yin Hengshi's position. Then, the small world they were in collapsed in an instant. He and the others of the Heavenly Realm territory all appeared in the square of the battle for Providence. As soon as Knight Sorrow's figure appeared, he was locked onto by Moonfeather Earth Sovereign. After locking onto Knight Sorrow's aura, Moonfeather Earth Sovereign did not make a move for the time being. Instead, she smiled and continued. The champion has already appeared. What are you waiting for? Start the awards. But Yuling Supreme has already fallen. We don't have the authority to activate the rewards. Dao Wui immediately replied, Yuling has already been killed. The authority will naturally fall to someone else. You can try and see who can activate the rewards this year. Moon Feather Earth Sovereign continued. Her intention was clear. She wanted Night Sorrow to get the champion's reward, and then the reward for the person who died. I've already been locked onto by that earthly sovereign. As soon as I move, he will attack. All of you, enter Brother Zhao's space cave. If he attacks me, you will immediately teleport back to the Heavenly Realm territory. Damn it, the Eternal Supreme Realm is about to be destroyed. Some people are still bullying us in the Heavenly Realm territory. We will all stay and help Night Sorrow. Seeing Moon Feather Earth Sovereign's face, Master Wan Jian cursed unhappily. Hearing this, Night Sorrow immediately advised, don't be impulsive. If you stay, it will affect my energy. Who knows, I might be able to escape alive if I face the earthly sovereign alone. He had completely sensed Moon Feather Earth Sovereign's murderous intent and knew the difference in strength between them. Moreover, Yin Hengshi had said that the energy here had been exhausted. That meant that even if Moon Feather Earth Sovereign attacked him in front of everyone, he would not be punished. The only thing he could rely on was Little Seven. Little Seven was an earthly sovereign. In front of an earthly sovereign, he would not be able to escape. However, after communicating with Little Seven, Night Sorrow's answer was that it was uncertain. Therefore, everything was unknown. Everyone, let's go. Enter Brother Zhao's space cave. At this moment, Wu Lingfei glanced at Yishang and said. After that, she sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. We will wait for your return. I believe that with Little Seven's help, even an earthly sovereign will not be able to do anything to you. Yes, I can still rely on Little Seven to help me escape, Night Sorrow said casually. Then he took Little Seven out of the space cave and put it in his sleeve. He was ready to fight at any time. While Night Sorrow was briefing the people in the Deity World territory, the sovereigns present went to open the champion's reward one after another. After trying, Dao Wui of the Dao World territory opened the champion's reward. Dao Wui's eyes lit up the moment he opened the champion's reward box. What he saw were pieces of earthly sovereign materials, as well as earthly sovereign laws and essences. In addition, there was also a white jade pendant. This white jade pendant was slightly flawed and looked very gentle. However, this was not the main point. The main point was that its aura was not inferior to that of an earthly sovereign. It was obviously an earthly sovereign treasure. Great, this is good stuff. Upon seeing this white jade pendant, Moon Feather Earth Sovereign's eyes lit up immediately. Clan M. Chapter 3035. That old man is looking at the jade pendant greedily, as if he's admiring something that belongs to him. Night Sorrow, you must be careful. Xiao Tianxian, who had already sent everyone into the space cave, saw the greedy look on Moon Feather Earthly Sovereign's face and immediately reminded him. When Night Sorrow heard this, he looked at Xiao Tianxian and said, Brother Xiao, I will help you get your rewards. Quickly bring everyone back to the realm of the gods. This is not a place to stay for long. Moon Feather Earthly Sovereign was eager to go. Feng Wuji was next to him. Although he was expressionless, no one knew what he was thinking. Night Sorrow had been guarding against him. All right, Yishang, you must remember to be careful. We will wait for your return in the realm of the gods. Xiao Tianxian said helplessly as he patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. He and the others in the realm of the gods were helpless in the face of the current situation. Don't worry, no matter how difficult the road ahead is, I will return to the realm of the gods in one piece. Everyone, take care. Night Sorrow said as he looked at the rewards that would tempt even the earthly sovereigns. At this time, he realized that Moon Feather Earthly Sovereign was targeting him more and more brazenly. After targeting Night Sorrow, Moon Feather Earthly Sovereign began to urge Dao Wui and the others to quickly give out the rewards. After he gave the order, Dao Wui and the others began to give out the rewards. When it came to the top 32 rewards, the number of people was better. When it came to the top 8, many people had been killed and many territories had been wiped out. Only the earthly sovereigns could receive the rewards on behalf of the participants. As for the Geoshian territory, it was even worse. Although they had won the 3rd place, there were no earthly sovereigns present. The one who went up was Feng Wuji. Feng Wuji, who went up to receive the reward for the 3rd place, had a playful look on his face. No one could tell if he was happy or angry. When it came to the 2nd place, Mu Tianai walked up to the podium in front of the crowd. He took his reward from Dao Wui's hands. At the same time, he looked at Yishang and smiled at him. That smile contained a hint of provocation. I don't know what creature you are, but since you came from the fog region, I will definitely destroy you, no matter where you hide. Night Sorrow said sternly to Mu Tianai through voice transmission. You can announce my identity to the public and see if anyone here believes you. Mu Tianai provoked indifferently. He knew very well that Night Sorrow was from the realm of the gods and was basically an enemy of the entire world. Even if he told them about what happened in the fog, no one would believe him. I alone am enough to deal with a small fry like you. Night Sorrow said disdainfully to Mu Tianai. At this moment, Mu Tianai smiled and continued. Then let's wait and see. The next time we meet, I will kill you with my own hands. Night Sorrow said coldly. At the same time, he began to think of a way to deal with Mu Tianai. Just as Mu Tianai thought, at this moment, no matter what Night Sorrow said, no one would believe him and stand on his side. As for the fact that the creatures in the fog would invade, no one would believe it. Therefore, he was not in the mood to talk about it. While Night Sorrow and Mu Tianai were talking through voice transmission, Xiao Tianxian led the people from the realm of the gods and successfully left through the teleportation portal. After watching them leave, Night Sorrow let out a sigh of relief. At this moment, Mu Tianai received his reward and slowly walked down the stage. Dao Wui said, "The winner of this battle of providence is the realm of the gods. People of the realm of the gods, come up and receive your reward." You seem to have forgotten to say, please. Dao Wui's tone was filled with disdain. It was as if he looked down on the realm of the gods. Night Sorrow, who had flown up the stage, harumphed coldly. Do I need to say please to someone like you? Have you ever seen someone say please to a chicken, a duck, or a goose? What a joke. Dao Wui looked at Night Sorrow with a fake smile. If you have the mood to care about these things, why don't you think about how you can leave here alive? This has nothing to do with you. Give me my reward. Naturally, Yishang knew that Moonfeather Earthly Sovereign would make a move on him after the award ceremony. He was already thinking of a way to deal with it. With the pair of forbidden breaking hammers left behind by Little Seven and Wu Lingfei, he was not worried that he would be trapped. After all, there was still the Earthly Supreme Jade pendant in front of him. Who knows, it might be able to play a good role as well. Hee, you will soon know whose reward these are. Dao Wui sneered and pointed at the treasure chest that was filled with rewards. Take them yourself. Keep them warm. After all, they won't be yours in a while. You don't have to worry about that. Night Sorrow put away the treasure chest in front of him and immediately used the life chart matching technique to make the jade pendant recognize him as its master. With the experience he had with Little Seven, he was able to make the jade pendant recognize him as its master very quickly this time. A moment later, the jade pendant, which had a weapon spirit, sent a voice transmission to Night Sorrow. I am willing to accept you as my master. Oh? So straightforward? No conditions? Night Sorrow asked curiously. When Little Seven had recognized him as its master, he had mentioned some conditions. Master's life providence is rarely seen in billions of years. To be able to follow by Master's side is already my greatest fortune. The jade pendant said respectfully. All right. In the future, I will not treat you unfairly. Night Sorrow promised. He then asked, Why Jade, what can you do? There is a problem ahead of us. We have been targeted by at least one earthly supreme. My ability is to nourish the mind. It is very beneficial for cultivation, but I am not very good at fighting. It can be used against those below the earthly supreme level, but it is not very effective against earthly supremes. White Jade said weakly. Hearing this, Knight Sorrow suddenly understood why White Jade had recognized him as its master so easily. It turned out that among the earthly supremes, it was a very useless existence. However, it was not bad for it to nourish the mind. Thinking of this, Knight Sorrow said, "Strength is a source of support. It can be used to increase the efficiency of cultivation. It is very useful. You don't have to feel inferior. Let me and Little Seven handle this matter. Come, Little Seven, get to know each other." Ho ho ho, Knight Sorrow. The Moon Shadow Estate would like to invite you, the new champion, to our estate as a guest. What do you think? While Little Seven and White Jade were talking, Moon Feather Earthly Supreme's voice suddenly rang out. Ho ho ho. Invite me to the Moon Shadow Estate? Thank you, but I am not interested. Hearing Moon Feather Earthly Supreme's words, Knight Sorrow rejected the invitation without hesitation. Everyone knew that Moon Feather Earthly Supreme was a Sima Zhao. Only a fool would accept his invitation. Knight Sorrow, I have given you some face. Why don't you know how to cherish it? After Knight Sorrow finished speaking, Moon Feather Earthly Supreme laughed coldly and continued. Today you have to go, even if you don't want to. Chapter 3036. Oh, you are an earthly sovereign. Are you going to be so shameless as to attack a junior? Yishang asked fearlessly in the face of Moon Feather Earthly Supremacy. He knew that no one in the realm of the gods behind him could fight against an earthly sovereign. He could only rely on himself. While he was questioning you earthly sovereign, Knight Sorrow sent a message to Little Seven and the restriction-breaking hammer. Little Seven and the restriction-breaking hammer. Let's get ready to escape. Both of you cooperate well later. As for the White Jade, it was used to nourish the mind, so he did not take it into consideration. Yes, okay. The restriction-breaking hammer and Little Seven replied at the same time. While Knight Sorrow, the restriction-breaking hammer, and Little Seven were planning their escape, a sinister smile appeared on you earthly sovereign's face. Moon Feather, Earthly Sovereign, smiled viciously and said, "We have already shed all pretense of cordiality with the god world. This time won't make a difference. Junior, prepare to die." After saying this, you Earthly Sovereign flew into the air and shot a beam of energy at Knight Sorrow. This beam of energy was not used to attack Knight Sorrow, but to bind him. After the energy was shot, Knight Sorrow immediately shouted, "Little Seven, take me away." Okay. When Little Seven heard this, he immediately put Knight Sorrow and the restriction-breaking hammer into the tower. He was preparing to escape. Hee, you want to escape in front of me? If I did not have a way to restrain you, I would have set up an array. You Earthly Sovereign saw that Little Seven was about to escape with Knight Sorrow. She immediately took out a cobweb-like magical artifact from her space device. After this magical artifact was thrown out, it immediately enveloped Little Seven. It slowly tightened and wrapped around him. This is an Earthly Sovereign artifact. He has an Earthly Sovereign artifact on him. Little Seven, who was trapped, immediately shouted. Generally speaking, Earthly Sovereign artifacts were very rare. Who would have thought that you would have one on her? Moreover, it was such a huge net that could cover the sky. Restriction-breaking hammers. It's time for you to attack. Yishan did not panic when he was trapped by the net that covered the sky. Instead, he commanded the restriction-breaking hammer to try and break free. Let's try. However, the chances of breaking through are not high. After all, this is an Earthly Sovereign artifact, and we are no longer at our peak strength. The male hammer said as it cooperated with the female hammer and attacked the Moonlight Eclipse net of Moonlight Earthly Sovereign. After being attacked by them, the Moonlight Shrouding net immediately began to shrink even more violently. It looked like it was going to crush the small pagoda. Moon Feather Earthly Sovereign laughed and said, "Knight Sorrow, oh Knight Sorrow. Your strength isn't much, but the treasures you have on you are quite a few. It's exactly what I want. In the future, on this day, every year, I will have my disciples burn some paper money for you. Don't worry, even if I die today, I will make all the artifacts on me explode and leave nothing for you. Night Sorrow roared as he cooperated with the restriction-breaking hammer and Little Seven to attack the moonlight shrouding net. Under their continuous attacks, the moonlight shrouding net could not hold on any longer. Indeed, they are all good stuff. Especially this pair of hammers. They are not earthly sovereign artifacts, but they can break some of the seals on them. Seeing that Night Sorrow was about to cooperate with Little Seven and the restriction-breaking hammer to break the moonlight shrouding net suppression, Moonlight Shrouding Net was about to break free. Moonfeather, Earthly Sovereign, nodded her head in satisfaction. Then, she immediately attacked and cooperated with the moonlight shrouding net to completely suppress Little Seven. Lord Moonfeather, these restriction-breaking hammers belong to the Burning Sky Territory. Please return them to the Burning Sky Territory after you get them. Night Sorrow could not escape from Moonfeather, Earthly Sovereign. The Burning Sky Territory's sovereign, Funyuha, immediately spoke. He wanted the restriction-breaking hammers back. Hearing this, Moonfeather, Earthly Sovereign sneered and said, "These hammers belong to the Burning Sky Territory, but Night Sorrow got them and made them recognize him as their master. They belong to Night Sorrow. Now, they belong to me. What does this have to do with the Burning Sky Territory?" This, Moonfeather, Earthly Sovereign, please consider the harmonious relationship between our territories. Funyuha of the Burning Sky Territory continued. The Burning Sky Territory's strength was slightly weaker than the Moon Shadow Territories, but not by much. Therefore, he was not very afraid of Moonfeather, Earthly Sovereign. "If you spout any more nonsense, I will kill you." After Funyuha finished speaking, Moonfeather, Earthly Sovereign sneered and said with a murderous aura. After being ridiculed like this, Funyuha could not say anything no matter how much he had in his heart. At this moment, he thought for a moment and looked at Feng Wuji. "Wuji, Earthly Sovereign, please help the Burning Sky Territory." "Oh? Help the Burning Sky Territory? On what basis?" Feng Wuji, who had not spoken or made any movements, immediately asked with a smile when he heard Funyuha's words. My Burning Sky Territory is willing to give the restriction-breaking hammer to you." Funyuha thought for a moment and said, "Funyuha, do you take me for a fool, using me as a spear? Just based on what you said, you no longer have the right to continue living." A cold smile appeared on Feng Wuji's face. He directly attacked and killed Funyuha with a palm. At the same time, the murderous aura on his body rose. He looked at Moonfeather, Earthly Sovereign, and said, "Moonfeather, you are looking down on me too much." Brother Wuji, what do you mean by that? My Moon Shadow Territory and Night Sorrow are mortal enemies. Isn't it normal for me to attack him?" Moonfeather, Earthly Sovereign, looked at Feng Wuji with a cold expression. He had an Earthly Sovereign artifact in his hand, so he was not too afraid of Feng Wuji. Therefore, he did not inform Feng Wuji when he attacked. If we were talking about enmity, does my 9 profound territory not have enmity with Night Sorrow? Feng Wuji asked coldly. The murderous aura on his body did not decrease, but increased instead. Sensing the dense murderous aura on Feng Wuji, Moonfeather, Earthly Sovereign coldly asked, Feng Wuji, have you decided to shed all pretense of cordiality with me? Have you come to fight for Night Sorrow's treasures?" When they had just arrived, Moonfeather, Earthly Sovereign had still given Feng Wuji some face. Now, they had completely shed all pretense of cordiality. At this moment, Feng Wuji swept his gaze across the crowd and said, "Those who have nothing to do with this, please leave." When he said this, those who were watching did not dare to stay any longer. Everyone knew that Feng Wuji was going to start a war with Moonfeather, Earthly Sovereign. If the 2 Earthly Sovereigns were to fight, the consequences would be unimaginable. Therefore, no one dared to stay any longer. One after another, they left using the teleportation array. They returned to their territories and reported to their superiors. Feng Wuji, don't think that you are invincible just because you are from the four great saint lands. Today I will kill you. Moonfeather, earthly sovereign, looked viciously at Feng Wuji and threw out a punch at him. This punch was completely different from the one that had tied up Night Sorrow. The rules and power that it contained were extremely terrifying. Clan. Chapter 30-37. After witnessing Moonfeather, earthly sovereign's move, Night Sorrow realized the gap between him and an earthly sovereign. At the same time, he ordered Little Seven and the restriction breaking hammer to think of a way to break the array. They wanted to take advantage of the battle between Moonfeather, earthly sovereign, and Feng Wuji to find a way to escape. The moonlight shrouding net had lost the direct control of Moonfeather, earthly sovereign, and its power was obviously weaker. However, in the next moment, something happened that made Night Sorrow completely dumbfounded. After Moonfeather, earthly sovereign had made a probing attack, Feng Wuji, who had suddenly struck out, had turned Moonfeather, earthly sovereign, into nothingness. In an instant, the moonlight shrouding net had completely lost control. Damn, he killed an earthly sovereign with one move. This is a ruthless person. He is definitely not an earthly sovereign. When the moonlight shrouding net had lost control, Little Seven immediately realized that Moonfeather, earthly sovereign's spiritual soul had been destroyed. The elites of the four great sanctuaries are indeed incomparable to ordinary territories. Seeing that Feng Wuji had killed Moonfeather, earthly sovereign, with one move, Night Sorrow suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. In the hands of Moonfeather, earthly sovereign, they could not escape. In the face of such a powerful Feng Wuji, there was even less of a chance. Master, what should we do? Should we really self-destruct? Why don't we seek refuge with this elite? Bai Yu, who had been silent all this while, immediately tried to persuade Night Sorrow when she saw how powerful Feng Wuji was. I don't think you should be called Bai Yu. You should be called Nephrite. Hearing Bai Yu's words, Little Seven immediately said with disdain, Nephrite is a good name. At this moment, Feng Wuji, who had already retracted his murderous aura, smiled. As for Yishang, he saw a trace of complicated emotions in Feng Wuji's eyes. Oh, what's going on? Night Sorrow remembered that Feng Wuji had started to target him when the Battle of Providence had just begun. He did not know why he had such a complicated look in his eyes now. Night Sorrow, come out and talk. Feng Wuji looked at Little Seven and said, What are you trying to say? Night Sorrow asked coldly after coming out of the pagoda. Facing such a powerful Feng Wuji, he would not be able to escape no matter what. He no longer had any thoughts of escaping. Now he was thinking about how to let Little Seven, White Jade, and the restriction breaking hammer escape. He did not want them to self-destruct, but he also did not want them to fall into Feng Wuji's hands. What I want to say is that you don't have to think too much. You don't need to do that when you're facing me. Feng Wuji had an amiable smile on his face. This kind of smile was different from the cold indifference he showed to others. Seeing the friendly smile on Feng Wuji's face, Night Sorrow was puzzled. He had no idea why Feng Wuji, who had a grudge against the Firmament territory, would treat him in such a manner. At this time, Feng Wuji smiled and said, Next, I will tell you a secret, but you cannot tell anyone about it, including the people of the God Realm's territory. All right, go ahead. Yishang was at a complete loss. He didn't know what Feng Wuji was trying to do, so he could only reply in agreement. Back then, I was ambushed by a spy from the Firmament territory in the Supreme Space and was poisoned by a strange poison that was difficult to cure. Then I was surrounded by dozens of Supremes. At that time, there were at least 800 Supremes, if not 1,000. However, I did not die. Instead, I successfully possessed Feng Wuji in the chaotic battle. At this point, you should know who I am, right? After Feng Wuji finished speaking, his face immediately changed into a scholarly look. Night Sorrow took a closer look, and his eyes instantly moistened. The person in front of him was none other than Supreme Longevity. Senior Longevity, I didn't expect you to survive and possess Feng Wuji. After Supreme Longevity recovered his appearance, he also completely recovered his original aura. This aura was exactly the same as the image that the Horned Supreme summoned. Sigh. If not for that battle back then, I might not have been stuck at the Sky Supreme level for the rest of my life. Feng Wuji's body is not talented enough. It can't advance any further. Supreme Longevity sighed and continued. The future of the firmament and the eternal supreme world still rests on your shoulders. I lost the chance to advance to the supreme realm, but you have it. Senior, you flatter me, Knight Sorrow said humbly. Then he asked, Senior Changsheng, is there no other way? Can you take over someone else's body? I can possess someone else, but I can't find a suitable body at the moment. There are simply too few bodies in the world that can advance to the supreme realm. Even among the 4 sacred grounds, it's hard to find one. You're the only one in all these years. Supreme Longevity sighed. Mu Tianya's body can't do it either? He should be from the fog region. Knight Sorrow asked curiously. Mu Tianyi was ultimately a ticking time bomb. He would not be happy if he did not get rid of him. You mean him? He's just trash. At most, he can advance to the Earth Supreme level. Supreme Longevity pulled Mu Tianyi out of the space grotto. Before the battle with you, earthly sovereign Changsheng had dispersed the crowd. However, he had secretly taken control of Mu Tianyi and did not give him a chance to escape. The moment he was thrown to the ground, Mu Tianyi looked at Supreme Longevity and said, Supreme Longevity, I didn't expect you to be so scheming. You've been hiding under the identity of Feng Wuji. Many territories have attacked the firmament territory, but you didn't help at all. You evil spirit. Do you really think that you're from Tianxiao territory? Know your place. You're just an evil spirit from the fog region. Who are you to meddle in the affairs of the firmament territory? Supreme Changsheng said disdainfully before crushing Mu Tianyi into pieces. Then, he threw the space grotto to Knight Sorrow and said, All these years, I've been helping the firmament territory secretly, but I've never shown myself, because there are spies in the firmament territory, and there's more than one. When you return to the firmament territory in the future, you must be careful. Now, I can confirm that the spy is the governor of the firmament city, but I've already killed him. What? The governor of the firmament city is a spy? Hearing this, Knight Sorrow was shocked. So the governor had already been killed. No wonder no one could find him. Don't be surprised. My judgment won't be wrong. He was the one who poisoned me back then. If not for him, no one else could have poisoned me so easily. Supreme Longevity said with a sigh. The governor of the firmament territory was the deputy governor of the firmament territory. He was also Supreme Longevity's most trusted person. It was also him who poisoned Supreme Longevity. However, after he poisoned Supreme Longevity, he did not steal Supreme Longevity's body's laws and essence. He did not advance to the Earth Supreme level. Under his leadership, the firmament territory gradually declined to the state it was today. Genius memorized this site's address. Human mobile version reading website. Chapter 3038. Senior Longevity. The 2 vice city lords of the God World are also missing. They said they went to look for the city lords. Are they also? Knight Sorrow asked. He didn't finish his sentence. They aren't traitors, but they are juniors. They don't know what happened back then. However, they are trapped in a secret realm in the supreme space. Their situation isn't good. They need you to rescue them. Supreme Longevity said slowly after hearing Knight Sorrow's words. Oh, were the 2 vice city lords trapped? Knight Sorrow asked curiously. Now that the God World had lost its backbone, Supreme Longevity shouldn't be exposed even though he had appeared. Knight Sorrow felt that if he could rescue the 2 vice city lords, the God World's strength would definitely increase. In addition, the God World had won the battle for Providence. They didn't have to worry about Providence for the time being. If they didn't go to a public place like the Supreme Space, they could rest and recuperate for many years. The secret realm they are trapped in is called the Big and Small Grotto Heavens. It's a chain trap array. However, there are good opportunities inside. If you can get the resources inside, you should be able to break through to the supreme level. Supreme Longevity continued. However, their lives aren't in danger now. Let's think about other things first. Senior Longevity, please speak. Knight Sorrow looked at him. Towards someone like Long Sheng Supreme, who had made great contributions to the divine realm, he held reverence in his heart. This had nothing to do with cultivation. It was about feelings. Knight Sorrow felt that. Being a person, or rather, as a cultivator, feelings for the country were very important. And Long Sheng Supreme was clearly someone who could take on such responsibilities. If it wasn't for the accident back then, he would have led the God world to stand at the peak of the eternal supreme world. No need to be so serious. Although we are from different eras, we should still be friends. Supreme Longevity smiled and said, Next, I will impart to you a few mystiques. Mystiques? Knight Sorrow looked at him in confusion. The Supreme Longevity explained, Mystiques are the inherited secret techniques of each territory. What I'm going to impart to you is the God world's inherited secret technique, God's Finger, as well as the 9 mystical territories' inherited secret skill, Mysterious Sky Secret Shadow. Arcane Shadows was the best movement technique in the eternal sovereign world. As for the Divine Finger, it is the secret skill with the strongest attack power. Inherited secret technique? So the God realm's inherited secret techniques haven't been lost? Yishan said in shock. He didn't expect the Supreme Longevity to know the secret technique of the divine world's territory, and even control the secret technique of the 9 mystical territories. I'm probably one of the people who know the secret techniques of the God realm. There will be another you in the future. As for the Mysterious Sky Shadow, don't use it unless it's a life-saving situation. After Chongqing said that, he extended a finger and tapped Knight Sorrow's forehead. In an instant, 2 sparkling and translucent runes appeared in Yishang's mind. After absorbing these 2 runes, Knight Sorrow didn't even need to comprehend them. He directly learned the God's Finger and Mysterious Sky Secret Shadow that Supreme Longevity had imparted to him. These 2 mystiques are indeed amazing. After Knight Sorrow learned these 2 mystiques, his movement technique and attack power improved tremendously. If you are smart enough, you can combine these 2 mystiques to create a new ultimate technique. Then, you can use it as you wish. Supreme Longevity added, As a matter of fact, there are over 10,000 realms in the eternal supreme world. Legend has it that if you can combine the mystiques of tens of thousands of territories, it will become the strongest technique in the world. However, how can it be possible to obtain the mystiques of tens of thousands of territories? Combining the mystiques of tens of thousands of territories, this is indeed something that I don't even dare to think about. Knight Sorrow smiled, but his heart was shaken. Yes, only by combining tens of thousands of Daos can one become the strongest. Supreme Longevity finished and sighed. If the territories of the eternal sovereign world can put aside their selfishness and contribute all their mystiques, perhaps when the great calamity comes, our eternal sovereign world will have a chance. However, there will always be black sheep in the world, defecting to the enemy or being selfish. This idea is an impossible dream. Yes, although I haven't been in the eternal sovereign world for long, I can see that this place is definitely not a monolithic block. When the great calamity comes, who knows what will happen? Knight Sorrow agreed. From the battle for Providence, he realized that most of the territories in the eternal sovereign world had evil intentions. When it comes to the great calamity, the eternal sovereign world can only rely on its looks. As for you, you are a variable. You have the potential to reach the supreme realm, but time is a problem. Supreme Longevity said. Then, he continued, although I am not sure of the exact time, that day is not too far away. What you need to do now is to quickly increase your strength and lead the territories in the God world to increase their strength. If the eternal sovereign world cannot save them, we will think of a way to save the God world. All right. In that case, Senior Longevity, I will first return to the God world to take a look. After that, I will rescue the 2 Vice City Lords and strive to become a Supreme while rescuing them. Knight Sorrow cupped his fists at Supreme Longevity and prepared to head to the teleportation portal. At this moment, Supreme Longevity said, "If you want to increase your strength quickly, the fog is a good place. The white jade on you can help you to calm your mind and ensure that you will not be affected by the normal fog." All right, after rescuing the 2 Vice City Lords, I will go to the fog to cultivate. Knight Sorrow nodded at Supreme Longevity and flew to the teleportation portal. He looked at the other party and asked, "Senior Longevity, if I take these rewards away, won't I expose your identity?" "No worries. I have a solution." Supreme Longevity Immortal smiled and turned back into Phone Wuji, disappearing from the world. Strong. Really strong. He should be one of the best among the Sky Supremes. It's just that he did not have the chance to reach the Supreme Realm. What a pity. After Supreme Longevity transformed into Phone Wuji and left, Little Seven could not help but sigh. When Supreme Longevity was around, it was suppressed to the point that it did not dare to speak. Baiyu was the same. After Supreme Longevity left, he exclaimed, "I can't believe I have such a use. I can be used to resist the fog." Originally, Baiyu thought that he was just a useless piece of jade that could only be used to cultivate his mind. Now, he was very surprised. He felt that he had become a useful piece of jade. "No one can be compared to your effectiveness. I will have to rely on you when I go to the fog in the future. Otherwise, I might be affected by the fog too. I might turn into a bloodthirsty monster," Knight Sorrow said to Baiyu, then activated the teleportation portal and returned to the God world. Clan M. Chapter 3039. Knight Sorrow stepped out of the teleportation circle and appeared in the teleportation circle of Peace City. There was no one around the teleportation circle. Knight Sorrow used his divine soul to check and found that there were no cultivators in Peace City except for some guards. He then used his divine soul to check and found that Prime Golden Crow was still sitting at the gate of Peace City. Therefore, Yishang flew towards the gate of Ping and City. "Prime Golden Crow, where are the people in Peace City?" Yishang asked doubtfully after arriving beside the Golden Crow Paragon. "Hee. They have all returned to the realm of the gods to celebrate. Our realm of the gods has won the Battle of Providence. This is great news and worth celebrating." Prime Golden Crow waited for Knight Sorrow to speak before he looked at him and said with a smile, "I see. That's good to hear." Knight Sorrow was relieved when he heard this. He thought that something had happened to the realm of the gods. Knight Sorrow, this time, the realm of the gods has resolved the crisis and achieved such a good result. You have contributed greatly. I thank you on behalf of everyone in the realm of the gods. While saying this, the Golden Crow stood up from the ground and prepared to bow. Knight Sorrow quickly stopped him. "Senior Golden Crow, please don't do this. This is what Knight Sorrow should do. I can't accept your great gift. Of course, if it weren't for you, the providence of our realm of the gods would have been depleted. By then, we would have become the prey of the other territories." Prime Golden Crow sighed and continued, "Everyone is celebrating. You should go back to the realm of the gods. After all, you are the main character. Senior Golden Crow, now that the providence of our realm of the gods has increased by so much, the other territories wouldn't dare to invade us. Why don't you go back and celebrate with everyone?" Knight Sorrow invited. He had to go back. At the very least, he had to see his wife Jing Yun and Wu Lingfei. He had to figure out what had happened between the two of them. I won't go back. You can go back and celebrate. I will continue to stand guard here for everyone." After saying that, the Golden Crow sat on the ground again and closed his eyes to rest. "Then I'll take my leave," Knight Sorrow said as he looked at the back of the Golden Crow. He then flew towards the celestial realm from Peace City. Along the way, he did not meet any cultivators. It was clear that most of the cultivators in the divine world were gathered in the divine world cities. As expected, when Knight Sorrow flew back to the outskirts of the divine world city, he used his divine sense to investigate and found that it was indeed the case. At this time, 2 large red lanterns were hung high above the city gate, looking very festive. As for the city, there were cheers and laughter everywhere. This was something that had never happened in the divine world city for tens of thousands of years. Seeing everyone smiles, Knight Sorrow suddenly felt that everything he had done was worth it. However, when he thought of the few Lameter creatures in the foggy area, his fighting spirit rose once again. He thought to himself, no matter what, I have to protect the divine world and my family and friends. Knight Sorrow did not have deep feelings for the eternal supreme world. However, the divine world and its territories were too important to him. The degree of importance could be compared to his life. I feel that your friends aren't very loyal to their friends. You narrowly escaped death, and they actually came back to celebrate like this. At this time, Little Seven said unhappily, everyone should be happy and celebrate after winning the championship. Besides, this is definitely not their idea. Yi Shang smiled and used the power of his divine soul to sweep towards the City Lord Mansion. At this time, in the City Lord Mansion, some of the important supremes of the divine world territory were present. Xiao Tianxian, Myriad Sword Sect, and others were also present. Many of the supremes were in a good mood, especially the White Tiger, who kept saying something. However, Xiao Tianxian, Myriad Sword Sect, Wu Lingfei, and others did not look too good. Knight Sorrow glanced and realized that they should be unhappy because of his matter. He transmitted his voice to Little Seven and said, look at you, gauging the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. All right, they're quite loyal. Little Seven also glanced and said faintly, it had the strength of an Earth Supreme. Even the Supremes of the Divine World territory did not sense it. However, when Knight Sorrow was probing the City Lord Mansion, he was sensed by Supreme Ancestor Phoenix. When Supreme Ancestor Phoenix sensed this aura, he immediately flew out of the City Lord Mansion. Good, good, good. Seeing that it was Knight Sorrow standing outside the City Lord Mansion, Supreme Ancestor Phoenix said 3 good words in a row. Then, he said excitedly, Knight Sorrow, I am so happy that you can come back. Without you, this celebration ceremony would have no meaning at all. Follow me in. All right. Knight Sorrow replied and did not refuse. In front of him was some rare time as a cultivator. After resting for a while, he would once again embark on his journey. After all, the 2 deputy city lords were still trapped in the big and small grotto heavens. And in the supreme space, there were many other supremes of the other territories who had sealed the divine world territory. It was not easy to break through their blockade. Knight Sorrow, you're back. It's really you, that's great. When Knight Sorrow followed Supreme Ancestor Phoenix into the City Lord Mansion, Myriad Sword Sect was the first to stand up. Wu Lingfei, who originally had a gloomy expression, suddenly burst into tears. Hello everyone. I returned safely. Knight Sorrow smiled and greeted everyone, then walked to Wu Lingfei's side and sat down. For a moment, Xiao Tianxian, Myriad Sword Sect, Murong Jinlu, and the others all became energetic and began to chat with him. What everyone asked was basically how Knight Sorrow managed to survive and return. And Knight Sorrow naturally would not reveal that Supreme Longevity had possessed Feng Wuji, so he casually made up a story. He said that Feng Wuji and Supreme Moonfeather's battle was too intense. In the situation where they were locked in battle, he used the restriction-breaking hammer to break the seal and successfully escaped through the teleportation array. Everyone who could not think of any other possibility naturally believed it. Then, under the auspices of Supreme Ancestor Phoenix, everyone began to enjoy a celebratory feast. When the celebratory feast was over, Wu Lingfei looked at Knight Sorrow and said, "Go and see Jingyun. She heard that you didn't return and became depressed. She locked herself in the house and refused to come out. All right, I'll go and see her. Then we'll settle the matter between us," Yishang said as he walked towards a courtyard where Jing Yun was. Before they even arrived, he had already used the power of his divine sense to scan them. With his scan, he was instantly enraged. At this moment, Jing Yun was sitting in the house with a gloomy expression. In her courtyard, there was a black shadow that was preparing to launch a sneak attack on her. Genius memorized this address in a second. Human mobile version reading website. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.